Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
It's such old news, but still incredibly important news for our listeners. It won't be breaking, but I never even mentioned it yesterday because of that. But to see the Washington Times and other old-time establishment media reporting headlines like Navy SEAL families say helicopter crash was inside job. To see that headline and to see it getting coverage was simply amazing. We've got a Navy SEAL coming on the broadcast today. Not to talk about that subject, but to talk about being at the events last week when the World War II vets and others pulled down the barricades. He said he believes they're trying to push veterans into striking at the criminal government as a false flag so they can roll out some type of civil war against the American people. That is exactly what's going on. And so we look forward to the highly decorated Navy SEAL, retired Benjamin Smith, joining us coming up in the, I was checking the time he's on, coming up in the third hour today. He'll be joining us via telephone. I'd like to get him in here in person or via Skype, but he's on the road, so he'll be joining us coming up in T-minus 2 hours. If I sound a little bit out of it today, my voice is still a little bit blown from Saturday, getting excited at the Alamo at the Open Carry March. And then I don't have a lot of back problems, but it goes out my lower back a couple times a year, especially when I'm trying to get back in shape and jog. I don't stretch enough. But then I made the mistake when my back was hurting yesterday to go out with John McAfee and shoot 50 cals handheld, which you don't think's that big of a kick, but we were like shooting 10 rounds at a time and actually hitting targets about 150 yards away, just handheld by line of sight with tracers shooting dead trees. It's pretty amazing footage. Nobody's ever seen McAfee shoot. There's lots of footage of him with guns, and he did a spoof video of him like Tony Montana, a comedy video with women all around him and cocaine on his face, which was a joke video he put out. The media runs it like it's real. I mean, like when I dressed up like the Joker one time to do a spoof video, they say I really think I'm the Joker and I'm crazy. But he's never before been seen firing guns. It'll be pretty viral. And also interesting what he had to say about the Second Amendment and more. John McAfee's definitely a character. He just left Austin this morning. But that footage will be out tomorrow night because there's a bunch of it, and we're going to put it all together and edit it together nice. But tonight on the Nightly News, we will have some excerpts of some other interviews I did with John McAfee. And so that is coming up on InfoWars Nightly News tonight, 7 o'clock Central. But side issue, I only shot like 50 rounds out of the Barretts, and I forgot to do what I've always wanted to do, is shoot two at the same time, just for fun. We didn't do that because we didn't bring enough ammo. By the time I wanted to do that, we'd gone through, I don't know, 100 rounds of ammo or whatever it was, and 10 clips that we already preloaded. But we do have John McAfee firing a 50 cal from the hip. And in fact, one time we were shooting at cow feeders, old plastic cow feeder buckets at 300 yards away with tracers. And of course, it was broad daylight, so you would just see almost like a white line. But with line of sight, he actually hit one of the feeders from the hip. The feeder's about 2 feet tall, about 2 feet wide, little yellow feeder. He actually hit it at like 300 yards, firing from the hip. Talk about a video game. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, that is just awesome. I'm now addicted to firing 50s from the hip. The problem is I can't walk today. I made the joke, this is my back therapy, is shooting the 50. Well, no, it's not back therapy. I'm now like twisted, so I don't know. Put up with me today. I feel like I have ice picks being jammed in my back. We got big news, serious news, straight ahead. Stay with us. It is already Tuesday, the 22nd day of October, 2013. I am your host, Alex Jones. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central. Back weeknights with the InfoWars Nightly News with myself and the rest of the great team. Wow, where to start? I want to just explain something to new listeners who tune in to the broadcast and maybe asking, why are we saying that we're going into a collapse? And how do we know that there is going to be a collapse? How do we know that? Well, we know that they have created over 1,000 trillion in derivatives. They have connected the world economy to that, infected all the major pension funds, infected all the government systems and corporate systems, and are maneuvering the answer to that crisis being a planetary world government. So that is the reason that we point out that we don't know exactly how this accelerated collapse is going to unfold. But we know that one way or another, it's an untenable situation. And the open engineers of this plan on using this global crisis that they have created to bring in their world government. So we're going to be obviously continuing to break all of that down today. Hey, I'm good, guys. I'm good. I'm good in here. It was no big deal. Just somebody strung the phone cord up underneath my desk, and so it got knocked off the hook, so I just fixed it. So no, not a big deal. But continuing here, Obamacare obviously is designed to implode the rest of the economy, and our journey towards basic Sovietization will be complete. And Homeland Security is publicly set up to mop up the American people. It is publicly set up to set up a domestic surveillance grid and a secret police grid to wage war against the people. And that's why the police more and more act in a imperious nature. And I'm going to get into the world news here in a moment, but I wanted to first talk about something I saw driving into work last Wednesday. It had been raining very hard. It had stopped raining, but I saw a black unmarked police car completely T-boned, surrounded by state police and others right in front of a big church where police a month before had run our nanny off the road and a bunch of other cars just driving around everyone and then coming over into the lane. It was funny because they caused a wreck there about a month before that almost killed some people. I don't know what happened to this poor officer, but there he was, and I thought, wow, I bet he's in bad shape. Well, he died. He died. And then yesterday I was driving into work, and normally it takes me 45 minutes. It took me about an hour and 15 minutes because all the way up the highway, 290, were 4 or 5 motorcycle cops at every intersection, and they were standing out in the medians, and sometimes the traffic would stop. So my car stopped right in front of the motorcycle police after about an hour of driving, and I said, "Hi, officer, what's going on?" And he yelled at me, "Keep moving." This is while my car was stopped, and he was 5 feet angled out, standing in the median, and bugged his eyes out at me like he wanted to club my head in. So then I got my video camera out, my iPhone, and I said, well, when I get to this next group rolling at half a mile an hour, stop and go, I'll ask them. So I get up to the next group, and they didn't act like they wanted to kill me. They just said, don't worry about it. Because after all, I just supply tax money. I'm a blood bag for the government. I mean, I'm just here to supply blood to the mosquito government. And then they saw me filming, and as I rolled by, we're like looking completely angry and completely upset, and their mouths were hanging up. In fact, I even have video of this because I swung the iPhone back. Maybe I should put a piece together. They were so amazed that I would even talk to them because they're so used to the general public. That's got to be one of the most cowardly populations in human history, the opposite of our founders. They see cops, they grovel. I mean, if a cop gets behind somebody, they start weaving and freak out and panic. I mean, people see cops, they fall down in fear on average now. And I remember like 10 years ago in places like New York City, I would say, "Hi, officer, do you know where such and such subway entrance is?" And they would scream, "Do I look like a phone book?" Now, not all New York police are like that. I know a lot of them are listeners, and I run into some nice ones when I've been there. But a lot of them are just imperious thugs. Just like the TSA ad last year said, we want to hire imperious people that are domineering. And I guess the definition of imperious is arrogantly domineering, in people's face, unreasonably commanding. That's what the big foreign banks that run America are like. And so that's the attitude they're pushing for. A warrior class of police who don't fight with the drug gangs and the big banks that launder the money. They only go after the low-level drug gangs that don't launder the money properly. And they're just there to generate revenue and do all these home invasions and all the rest of it. Imperious, having or showing the proud and unpleasant attitude of someone who gives orders and expects other people to obey them. Benefiting or befitting a characteristic of one of eminent rank or attainments, marked by arrogant assurance. Boy, are those not the definitions. And again, I did this as a test. Plus, I was on the phone with Watson in between the hour. I was just in this particular piece of traffic. And I said, I think it's either going to be the president at a fundraiser or it's going to be a police officer funeral. And I said, I'll see when I get to the office. When I got here, sure enough, at 11 o'clock, he was set to come down that road in the procession. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, they had all these motorcycle cops out there just preparing to shut down one of the most choked points of 71-290 Ben White in Austin, Texas. And again, I think the guy should have a nice send-off or whatever. They want to have a parade for him or whatever, or something like that. My issue is he died hydroplaning, driving in to be on duty. Not even on duty is what I was reading. And he hydroplaned like thousands of people do every year and die. And I'm surprised they didn't just line up some citizens and execute him, or maybe give him a Viking burial and just pile up some random citizens on a Viking ship and set us all on fire. That's how the Vikings would do it when a muckety-muck would die, just to show they were more important than other people. They would, burn maybe their whole household women with them. I guess nobody else wanted to be around the elitist, spoiled women, so that's kind of maybe a good Viking custom to burn all them up. I'm being a little sarcastic, but I'm sure Odin says we must burn his women. Yes, all the spoiled, rotten nobles' women. Yes, you will now be burned. I'm sorry. Anyways, can you imagine how spoiled noblemen's women are? The point is that they didn't used to do stuff like this. When that Navy SEAL Chris Kyle died, they shut down I-35 for like 4 or 5 hours, the most busy stretch of highway in the country. It was like Jesus Christ had returned or something. And we went and covered his funeral, and I'm sad he's dead. And, I do think the guy was obviously a brave person. But I just, it's so over the top. This is the kind of stuff you see in North Korea when you have this type of martial ceremony. But this cop didn't die going in to free women and children who had a kidnapper with them, who then got killed trying to stop them. Then you shut down the highway. Then I think citizens would want to come out and line the road for an example of a citizen that did a good job. I got a couple examples here of preachers going in dollar stores and thieves are pistol whipping women, and then the preacher takes them out. And, does that guy get any type of parade? I think he should get a parade too. I think when firefighters go into a burning building and save kids and then it collapses when they go back in to save more, I think you need a parade for that. That's where this comes from. You get a parade for being a hero. But now there's just the idea of you get a parade because you are a cop and that makes you the highest level hero. I mean, why not give everybody in the Army the Congressional Medal of Honor, not just give it to Audie Murphy? I don't think Audie Murphy, in fact, I was looking it up this morning, couldn't find anything on it. I don't think he got a parade like this. And the guy at one setting killed like 55 German soldiers in a battle in Germany. And he'd already been in a whole bunch of stuff just like that. On top of a tank destroyer for an hour, with the tank destroyer on fire, with his feet burning, with bullets in his hip and chest and everything else, because he didn't like his buddies getting killed. I mean, Audie Murphy did not get what this cop got. And I mean, that's all I'm saying. I just don't get it. I'm sad he's dead. My God, every time my wife drives off with my kids, especially when it's raining, I say, drive slow, hydroplaning, super dangerous. I felt bad when I drove by. When I saw that cop's car T-boned, just like it was a citizen, I thought, man, I hope that person's all right. But then I went, wait a minute. They ran our nanny off the road in 3 other cars, and then the cops got in their face when they showed up, making excuses for it. Cops without their lights on, I think she said like 6 of them, drove down the median on 290, cut in front of the car in front of her, almost hitting him, and then ran those cars off the road. And there was a big car pile up. And it's like, oh, you're just a peasant, big deal. Well, you know what? That reckless driving gets people killed, doesn't it? So my point is, the very spot where they ran our nanny off the road, this guy's dead. And then a week later, they got the whole road shut down like Caesar got killed. And it doesn't make sense is all I'm saying. All right, we're going to be right back. But that was Officer Clay Crabb, died October 16th. All right, we're back, folks. I want to open the phones up for listeners to talk about all the different things that are happening out there. The government shutdown, what a fraud that was, what happened with the debt increase, what's happening to the dollar. We wake up and the national debt's gone up $1 trillion. Now they're talking about making it go up $1 trillion a month. I've got those headlines here. Now that they've got an unlimited debt increase, at least in the next year. That's the name of the game. Scuttle the United States. Wreck it so the venture capitalist, the vulture capitalist who are anti-free market can come in and pick its bones. I mean, it's so simple. These are ruthless people. And if we'll allow them to engage in all these crimes, we're going to be up the creek without a paddle, as they say. And again, the police are so paramilitary now that just 10 years ago, the police officers I knew in Austin, Texas were different than they are now. And a cop by himself will be one of the nicest people you can talk to sitting around watching a football game or going fishing with or hunting with. Believe me, I've gone hunting and fishing with plenty of cops in my life. Got a lot of them that are family. But you get them in their mob psychology groups, they are dangerous, more and more, and arrogant and imperious, and that's anti-American. And it's shameful. And there's this idea that our public servants can be armed, but we, the so-called masters, can't be. Well, we're not really the masters. We are civilians. We are slaves. They are the paramilitary group that rules the country. And I've known this since I read Rand Corporation documents back in the 90s, and since I read those documents and went to urban warfare drills and also was warned by good police officers and good military men who knew that this was part of a covert, long-term strategy to convert our country from a free, due process nation to a banana republic. There is almost nowhere in the world, except for the United States, Switzerland, and a couple other countries, where you can really somewhat outright own your property and not just have government come along and take it. And now they're starting to do that here with environmental eminent domain, corporate eminent domain, where they don't even pay you 5 cents on the dollar what your property's worth. You can have the tax receipts of what you pay in property tax, and they say, sorry, the city has ruled. I mean, you've seen all these New Haven, Connecticut cases and the rest of it. We've had famous cases like Gore Seafood on the Texas coast, where they just take your property and say, you know what we're going to give you? We're going to give you nothing. How's that sound? And then you go, but my house is worth $500,000. The tax receipt shows. Doesn't matter. We're just taking it. And if you fight us, we're going to charge you for our lawyer fees in the court battle. Texas landowners, it's the Texas Bill of Rights, Landowner Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights they passed a few years ago, I guess 6 years ago in the State House, actually says they can tell you now they're going to put a pipeline on your property or drill on your property or do whatever they want on your property or build a road on your property, and you have no right to refuse. You get like 6 months to agree with them, and if you don't, they just take it. It's kind of like the Don Corleone Godfather thing, where either your brains or your signature are going to be on this contract. Well, we're going to take your property if you don't give it to us. And my point is, by every yardstick, and no sociologist, no anthropologist, no historian denies this, They have Wall Street Journal articles. CNN even admits it. We are now a police state. And a police state has not really even much to do with the cops themselves, but with the due process being in the toilet. I mean, you're in a police state where they can take your kids for not taking vaccines, and there's no law saying you got to take vaccines. You're in a police state where people are afraid to come to Texas, I know, because they see all the news articles about the cops will pull you over and you got $1,000 in your wallet. They'll just take it and say it's drug money with no proof. America is becoming like Mexico, or like an African country, or like a corrupt Caribbean nation. And I don't want to live in Belize. I don't want to live in Nigeria. I don't want to live in Saudi Arabia. I want to live in the United States. And so I read the Homeland Security documents that are public, and it says I'm bad. Well, of course I'm bad. I'm against a criminal takeover. I'm against a bank robbery of our rights and our liberties and our money. And I'm legitimately freaked out when I try to talk to cops. I didn't stop and talk to cops where I was rolling through. There were so many cops shutting this road down, or getting ready to shut it down, that repeatedly I would roll and stop in traffic right where a cop was. That's how many there were. And would try to talk to them, and was treated worse than Mexican cops have treated my family when I've been down there with them. And I won't go to Mexico because of the Mexican cops. And I love Mexico. It's a beautiful country. A lot of neat stuff. I will no longer go there because it's too dangerous. The police are too corrupt. But see, I can't go. I can't leave Texas. I don't want the cops to turn into that. The big news is coming up. Wide open phones, long-time callers, first-time callers, you name it. 800-259-9231, 1-800-259-9231, and we'll get you up and on the air. Again, that number, 800-259-9231. Let me hit some of the news now that I've gone off on that long breakdown of just some of the police state things that are developing. Here's a story up on drudgereport.com in the middle column. It's also up on Infowars.com. Homeland Security spends $80 million on armed guards for civil disturbances. IRS buildings to be protected. What is the federal government preparing for, Paul Watson asked. This is from the Federal Business Opportunities website. The same place we learned about $2 million for paper targets of children, where they train to shoot small children, called No More Hesitation. Continuing here, IRS buildings to be protected. The Department of Homeland Security is set to spend $80 million on hiring a raft of armed guards to protect IRS and other government buildings in upstate New York during public demonstrations. That's just in New York State, folks. That's just one of these contracts. And civil disturbances. These are quotes. Once again, prompting concerns that the federal agency is preparing for food stamp riots, anti-tax demonstrations, or some other form of domestic unrest. Yeah, they're cutting the food stamps massively coming up in just a few months. In fact, the cuts kick in actually next month. Time is just flying in the middle of November. And notice it has nothing to do with the government shutdown, any of it. They are now getting ready to start cutting the, quote, social safety net because they've already domesticated you. They've already fattened you up. They've already gotten you where you don't know how to work. They've already shut down the jobs. They've already shipped them to China. General Motors has left. Detroit has collapsed. They've already brought in the illegals to drive down the wages. And everything's being maneuvered now for huge cuts to welfare, food stamps, you name it, because the country is bankrupt. But don't worry, it's not going to be allowed to pay off its debts because we've been signed on to debts that aren't ours in the derivatives. The bankers, though, just now want to create the social explosion, so Homeland Security and the armored vehicles and the checkpoints and the emergency centers can all be tested out. And whether it's this year, next year, or 2 years down the road, we are entering into a designed collapse. And the areas like Chicago, New York, D.C., where they've taken all the guns, are going to see unbelievable social unrest under this. It's already going on. The crime is already exploding in all the globalist-held territories. And they hope to disarm everybody, but at least they can deindustrialize us, shut our power plants off, shut down our jobs, raise the taxes, pass the health care to bankrupt the healthcare industry. This is all meant to destroy areas they don't control. Because remember, the globalists are exempt from everything. The taxes, the regulations, they have diplomatic immunity. These big hedge funds managers have UN diplomatic immunity. The UN people have diplomatic immunity. There's hundreds of thousands with diplomatic immunity. They're now extending a kind of diplomatic immunity light to paramilitaries, to police, to others. This is their criminal time. This is their total takeover. And it's going to be hellish. That's all I can say. Now, we may be able to get the word out, and they may back off, though. At least partially. The problem is the globalists have already committed this doomsday machine, is what I'd call it. This perpetual chaos machine has been so committed now, so rolled out, so implemented, that there's no putting it back in the box. But they could scale it back. They could curtail it. And I would advise the globalists to do that. It isn't hype. Every one of our sources, from Ron Paul to Stuart Rhodes to myself to countless others who make contact with the military, active duty and recently retired, but also long-term retired, say that just a couple of years ago, it was 40–50% of the overall military was awake. Now it's 50% of enlisted, newly enlisted, probably 60–70% of long-time enlisted, and 70–85% of special warfare. PSYOPs is more like 85%. Because imagine you're in PSYOPs, and all the old PSYOPs were to discredit tyranny, discredit communism, discredit collectivism, discredit North Korea, discredit Russia, because those were tyrannies and enemies. Now they get their manuals, and it's discredit the family, discredit local government, discredit gun owners, discredit veterans. And, I mean, we have these manuals. They've been leaked to us. Some are public. And imagine you're sitting around in PSYOPs going, okay, we're now supposed to engage in domestic operations, and our target is the American people? And they still have the window dressing of, well, we're doing IED training and Chem Bio training, NBC training, in case Al-Qaeda hits. That was always the public facade of the military rollout. And to get the military to go along with it, with the EOD teams, ordnance disposal. But there was always, going back even to Reagan, in 1987 when this first started, I talked to a Marine Corps major who retired early out of the Marines from Space Command, total black government, total shadow government. And he started a successful computer company and stuff. And he was so mad running into an Army checkpoint. This is like 12 years ago, before 9/11, on I-35 in Kyle. And he'd been a Marine, got out of that. Then he'd been a cop for a while, didn't like that. And then went and started a computer company. And I visited him in his nice house with his wife and family. He only showed me the unclassified stuff, but him at Space Command and all the rest of it. And he rode up to this Army checkpoint wanting to search people. This is actually in the film Endgame, or not Endgame, of Road to Tyranny. There's a short excerpt. The full interview's online. And he said, the Army, you're searching people? Is there a threat? And they go, no, it's just a drill. And he knew what it was. And he had been on SWAT team raids when he was just a Marine Corps sergeant. He had been on SWAT team raids, or maybe it was I forget. The point was, he'd been on SWAT team raids of gun dealers' homes with the ATF in Virginia. And that was in the late 80s. And because he participated in shadow government operations, they kicked him up to a higher rank, and he went to Space Command. He wouldn't tell me about that, but he said, oh, yeah, it's pretty incredible. And, of course, I already know from Dr. Bob Bowman, former head of Star Wars, what they have. I mean, they've just got fleets of robot, they look like stealth bombers in orbit with all sorts of weapons. I mean, that's why the globalists are so arrogant, is my point. And I don't know why I just digressed off into that. My point is that it's aimed at us. It's always been aimed at us. They've always been training to take us on. I've been to Marine Corps drills where they actually let me in, and then the Colonel Love saw me there. Colonel Love was his name, and freaked out, and they had me thrown out. But we had other citizen tours they were giving in the California Oakland takeover, and so that's how we got the footage of them training to take Americans' guns door to door and then execute militia leaders. I mean, what do you think the Marines really do in Fallujah and in Iraq? Or what do you think they really did when they were fighting the Taliban going into villages? They kill everyone. Just war crime up one side and down the other. And the colonel, the generals were on the ship, on the Coronado, but the colonel was in charge of the ground landing with troops from 8 different nations training to fight the American people. And we later learned the drill was for a North Carolina or Georgia type invasion of the South, which we now know they've been drilling for 20 years, where they think they may get resistance to gun confiscation. And it doesn't matter. We got the footage. We've got the footage of what you're planning. That was 1999. Operation Urban Warrior, 1999. Its symbol was a dragon coming out of the ocean and attacking a U.S. city. They even got a patch for the mission. Just type in Operation Urban Warrior 1999. It's a big green dragon. You guys can find it. And imagine, I'm just a regular guy. I want to warn people. So I get on the air and I start saying, okay, here's the footage. Okay, this is going on. And then the Marines, reportedly, along with other government people, call the home corporate office of Shamrock Communications. That was, I think, in like Scranton, Ohio. And they fly out and they go, you're not to talk bad about the Marines anymore. You're not to talk bad about the government anymore, or Waco anymore, or Bill Clinton anymore, or you're fired. And I said, well, I can't. So a while later, they fired me. They gave me like 9 weeks to quit and kept saying, we're going to fire you. We're going to fire you. We're going to fire you. I mean, I've had the Marines have me kicked off the radio in America. Okay? I mean, they've been psyoping and operating domestically since Smedley Butler's time. And he blew the whistle on that, a plan to use the Marines for a military coup and to bring in fascism. And that got stopped in the 30s, and we're going to stop it again, ladies and gentlemen. So the average Marine is a great person. The average Army soldier is a great person. I know they try to teach them in briefings that I'm anti-Marine or I'm anti-Army, and that actually has backfired on them. In fact, I finally reverse engineered that. I'm going to your phone calls. Why our show originally got so popular, one of the biggest things was this. A, it was accurate. B, it was original. But C, and most importantly, we had Patriot supporters out there that knew we were being hardcore about the truth and we're telling the truth. A, B, C, D, but D is very important as well. They did, by the late 90s, briefings in the Army and the Marines and the Air Force, and then later even other sub-services, where they would find one of my films or recording on cassette or CD or whatever, and they would call everyone in and say, this man is an enemy, this man is a liar, this man is dangerous, he tells a kernel of the truth, don't listen to him, he's anti-American. What do you think everybody did when they heard that? They all went and tuned in. Because we used to see the traffic coming in and going, half the visits to our website are the military and the government. And it wasn't the government even spying on us. I mean, sure, a small percentage of it was that. It was the military listening because they were been told, don't listen to this. And now I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, we are the #1 show in the military. The #1 show that they're listening to. And they know I don't have all the answers and I don't know everything. I'm just a regular guy like they are. But they can go see everything I'm telling them is in their manuals. They know everything I'm talking about is accurate. They can have a different take on it, a different perspective. But I'm just telling the truth here, folks. I just witnessed Marines training to take our guns and saying it was for America and it's my patriotic duty to go out and warn people. The rest is up to you. It isn't about Alex Jones. But let me go over this news. Homeland Security spends $80 million on armed guards for civil disturbances just in New York alone. According to solicitation posted on Federal Business Opportunities website, the Federal Protective Services, a unit of the DHS, is looking for a contractor to supply armed protective security guards to guard a variety of government buildings in the region, including IRS buildings, during tax season. Yeah, when you get that $5,000 fee, $3,000 to $5,000 fee, well, I guess if it's a household that's more than $5,000, they think you're going to get mad. Now, I've told you, whenever they have any type of demonstrations going on, they park armored vehicles in front of the entrances of the IRS here in Austin. I mean, because they are an occupying army that works for offshore banks. I mean, the offshore bankers know they're involved in a criminal takeover of America. Do you think they're arming to the teeth against us? Of course they are. And now I know for a fact that the senior people at the IRS here in Austin, the biggest IRS center in the country, it's like for 5 states, I know for a fact they're listening and know it's true, and now know that all the big rich guys are exempt, and they really feel bad. The IRS used to think taking all ladies' houses on average was really to run the country and stuff. Now they know it's all the way to destroy America, the power to tax, the power to destroy. They have the lowest morale ever. They're trying to get rid of people entirely, go right to computers and digital stuff to just grab the money out of your account. They're not even going to go through some IRS court thing now. They're just going to take your money, just like Cyprus. And the IRS folks have been told, they've already laid off half of them who thought they were seasonal. They're told, you're never coming back. And now the word is from a very high-level source, within 3 years, you're going to have 10% of the people at the IRS you did. So they're not going to have jobs either. See how this works? It's all going to be automated. What, you think they ship everything to India because they like Indians? That's the cheapest humans they can find is in India. As many people in India now as there is in China. Even poorer and smart. You think you can compete with them? Just as smart as you or smarter, living in the street by day or by night and working in the building by day. A lot of Indians are happy just to go in and work all day at a computer center because they go and, 8, 9 people live in a one-room deal with no windows and might be lucky they get 1 meal a day, so they like to sleep at their desk. Think you can compete with that? Well, guess what? Soon you won't even be competing with them. Soon you'll be competing with computers that just take it out of your bank account, and that's what the whole NSA Obamacare. The Obamacare computers interface with the Know Your Customer and are going to take everything out of your bank account. And even when you pay with cash, you're going to have to show your driver's license, and it's going to be put in a database on you to see if you, quote, have been doing any underground economy trying to survive. And then they're going to come and they're going to arrest you. They're going to send a paramilitary team stacked up 10 deep at your house, and if you resist, they're going to kill you. So this is the design destruction of America. Now, the military and the police can wake up, say no, speak out, or you can sign your own death warrant politically and economically and spiritually and go along with this. I mean, why would anyone want to sign on to offshore banks that want to desolate us economically? We're going to go to your phone calls when we come back, and then coming up, Mark Faber, Fed could QE up to $1 trillion a month. Of course they will. And then sign the debt onto you. They get the money, you pay the debt. Of course they will. The armored troops are standing by if you don't like it. Marketplace, where people buy compulsory insurance with other people's money. We're going to break it all down coming up after your phone calls. Stay with us. We haven't gotten into the big diversion, but it is pretty sad. The Obamacare woman collapsing and Obama saving her, and now she'll get her health care. I mean, just completely zombie-like, his supporters. In fact, can we play that video here in a moment after we take calls? Because it just encapsulates and captures the zombiosis of these people. But now Democrats are warming to the delay, as I knew they would. They're warming to it. They're warming, like when the pimp breaks, one of his prostitute's nose. She begs and warms to it. And he just takes a coat hanger and beats her in the face with it, beats her on the head with it. And then roundhouse kicks her, and then she just crawls around the ground bleeding, begging, "Baby, I'm sorry, baby, oh." And he just stomps on her again, and she begs, "Oh, please." I mean, that's the Democrats. I'm sorry, this is so pathetic. You look at the Democrats on that stage, they're all shuffling around, look like zombies, and then they're just like collapsing and stuff. That woman looks like, look at her, she looks like a zombie. I shouldn't laugh. It's so sick. What has this country turned to? Go ahead and play the clip, and then I'll go to the calls. Oh, my goodness. This is just getting too ridiculous.
To free families from the pervasive fear that one illness... There you go. You okay? I'm right here.
I'm right here. Look at her. She's like, duh.
This happens when I talk too long.
Oh, my gosh. This guy, I mean, just look at the lemming-like look of all those other people. Come with us, dear, to the euthanasia center. It's all right. She got a little too much bromine and fluoride. Obama isn't getting any of that. He loves you so much. Oh, man, he wants to help you, let me tell you. I'm always talking to folks out. You know, they did tens of thousands of major secret testing, and in some cases, thousands of people got sick or died per program. And folks go, yeah, but they don't do that now. And I'm like, oh, no, the government's just 10 times more evil now. There's nothing going on. Is that why the public cancer rates are up 3,000% and the average person can't talk now? And they're all up on the stage going, I mean, not even knowing what planet they're on. And I laugh because it's gallows humor, folks. I am completely freaked out. And I never got to this yesterday. They go, hey, did you see the woman collapse? And I was like, no, cue it up. And I never watched it till after the show. But I said on the show, I said, I bet she looks like some zombie. And then they had the zombie on Piers Morgan last night, because I was in a restaurant after we went out shooting with McAfee, and I saw it on the screen. And like, here's this guy with like 350,000 viewers now. It was 2 million when he took it over. Larry King had like 10 million a decade ago. But everyone, it's still like, oh, that's the big media, Piers Morgan. A butt-naked emperor, the emperor's new clothes, a total hoax, but then he gets every big guest. Michael Hastings' wife goes on there. Everybody does. But it doesn't matter what they do. Then the zombie goes on, so I had him turn the TV up. And she was just thanking Obama, saying, just like he reached out and saved me, just like he saved me, Obamacare saved me, because I have diabetes. Yet no one told this woman vaccines burn out your pancreas. No one told her that corn syrup does it. No one told them fluoride does it. No one's going to tell her. They're all just going to hold her, and here you go, honey cakes. And then you look at how helpless the other Democrats are. I mean, they're just a bunch of well-meaning moron. They're like children. They're like 5-year-olds. Like I said, getting in the car with the man that goes, candy, and the 5-year-old says, mommy says no, and they go, puppy, puppy, puppy. Your phone calls are coming up back in 1 minute. Obama has a puppy.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
Well, some rescuers are trying to save some people in Pakistan, but they got double tapped by a drone. Good job, robots. Robots scored 10 million, humans score 0. And the soft kill, GMO and fluoride water and everything is doing its job. New World Order 10 million, humanity 0. Hoorah! Ha ha ha! All right, and Obamacare is absolutely destroying the health care in this country, making it 10 times worse. Another devastating victory. War on drugs is shipping more drugs in than ever, laundering the money, keeping the price high for the big banks. Big success. Hoorah, New World Order. All right, our ancestors are being defeated. All those that fought for human dignity are being defeated. Evil is putting more points on the board. I support Homeland Security, so I support it. You need to get a Hail Homeland Security, Hail Satan intro here. I said I'd go to your phone calls. I really want to hear from you, Tim, Peter, Michael, David, Mike, and many others. Got a bunch of news coming up, but let's start going to your calls right now. Tim, welcome to the airwaves, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Alex?
Well, I'm pretty evil right now. I like George Washington. That pretty much tells you everything, doesn't it?
I must be an evil person, too, then, because I think about those guys a lot.
Oh, man, what a terrorist.
You know, do you ever think that maybe Obama rolls in his bed from nightmares of, like, Thomas Jefferson and George Washington haunting him?
No, I think he's haunted by the sulfur smell he puts off, making women pass out, and all the flies that are seen coming out of his mouth on video. I mean, I think, like, the Amityville horror actually, like, lives in him. I think at night, like, he turns into a pig with red eyes and floats around the room.
Probably does, man. I called in today.
I mean, you know he probably bathes in, like, pig blood. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Who knows what he bathes in?
Probably bathes in, like, fly guts.
I called in today to talk to you guys about, I always hear Alex talk about the gangsterism attitude of America, how the MTV and the BET hip-hop gangster culture took over our country. And I've heard a lot of people call into your show, Alex, but I've never heard, I mean, I heard Freeway Ricky Ross, which has, not similar because he's like way big time, but he experienced some of the same things that I experienced. And I'm a white male. I'm a white American male.
By the way, that's not Rick Ross, the big fat hippopotamus guy. That's the real Freeway Ricky Ross.
Hey, Ricky Ross, the guy that was dealing drugs for the CIA.
Yes.
I heard him on your show, but I've never heard any real, like, gangster types from our public. I've heard famous guys like rappers and stuff on your show, but I've never heard actual citizens call in and say, yeah, you're telling the truth. I grew up in a bad neighborhood in southern Florida. I grew up in an all-black neighborhood, and my mother worked 3 jobs, and she had cancer for about 10 years.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And she was alone, and my dad was on the other side of the country. They split up, and I had no father. So I adopted the MTV gangster culture and the hip-hop culture, and that's what was going on in my neighborhood. And I grew up during, like, 94, which the gang intensity was really hot. So I got involved with the Rolling 60s, the Blood Gang.
So you were slinging rock, huh?
I wasn't slinging rock, but I was packing heat. At 14 years old, I had a 380 in my waist all the time. I had a 12-gauge shotgun under my bed. I was running scared from the police, running scared from everybody. And I was just a young, stupid kid that didn't have no direction from a father. My mother was working all the time, and I what it really was, I had no love. So I went and I looked for love in other places. And I'll tell everybody right now listening to this show, Alex Jones is absolutely correct. I come from a generation that grew up on this hip-hop gangster culture. And the music, the movies, the films, all of it, it hypnotizes you. It brainwashes you into thinking that that's what you need to do.
You've got young males that are looking for a male role model and young women that are looking for it, and they tell you it's some giant fat person with gold hanging around their neck calling women hoes, and it's on record. I've talked to people at MTV that were high level. They said, even better than rock and roll Satanism to destroy young people, we're going to go with this gangster culture to get them all ready for prison. It's all financed by the big banks that bring in the drugs, that own the private prisons. They want to get your kids ready to dress up in the uniform the police are trained to target and put in the jail. EBT looters are to be shamed online. The police will publicly release the identities of people who were given unlimited EBT who said money didn't grow on trees of its taxpayers. The police are going to post it online, but in the whole welfare culture, gaming the EBT, I mean, that is pimp game, as MTV and Sumner Redstone teaches us. So I think that'll actually make everybody heroes when the cops do that. John McAfee, the video's up there. It's a newsmaker because he's not on any other TV interviews in a long time. He does text interviews. He says Obamacare is unfixable as a top programmer. He says scrap it. And by the way, coming up on the Nightly News, we're going to have more interviews out shooting with John McAfee. And then tomorrow night, we're going to air John McAfee on the Nightly News firing twin 50s handheld. So that is coming up. And yes, I was firing the 50s handheld and didn't think it had much of a kick until I woke up this morning. And I really have blown some muscles out in my back. So that's coming up. And then we're going to have a special in-studio guest coming up at the bottom of the hour, surprise guest who are supporters of Obamacare and of vaccines. Will you guys print me the CDC adverse reaction pamphlet, just the synopsis? That's like 40 pages. Not the actual reactions, because that's several thousand pages if you index the top 20 vaccines or so. So I don't want the multi-thousand pages of death, cancer, Guillain-Barré's, narcolepsy, permanent epilepsy, all sorts of other disorders, autoimmune disorders, miscarriages. We're just going to go over some of the stuff because they say they're safe and effective. There are no side effects. Anyone that says it is a liar. So I thought we would actually have some of these idiots in here. And they're idiots, and I'm calling them idiots out there in the control room. Get them all riled up, the scum. We're going to have them in here to tell us how great all this is at the bottom of the hour. But right now, some of the other headlines. This is big. Homeland Security spends $80 million on armed guards for civil disturbances. And where's that from? That's from the Federal Business website. Federal Business Opportunities website. Remember last year you learned at Infowars.com, just because we're actual journalists and dig through the news articles. Nothing special about me or my crew. They actually are special. They're hardworking and smart. We go through there and find out about how they're the Pentagon's buying up civilian guns so we can't get them under Obama's orders, or how they bought 2.5 billion rounds of ammo now, or how they're buying thousands of armored vehicles a month to give them to police to battle the American people, or how they're buying $2 million of paper targets of children for no hesitation to train to kill children, or how the new Army manual says the founding fathers are the enemy, you know, and wouldn't be accepted in the U.S. military, and Forbes and AP report the Pentagon's main mission is to battle American libertarians. Because we're the only Americans left. Of course, a foreign takeover says we, the good guys, are the bad guys. This is the Sovietization, like we're Poland taken over by Russia. But it isn't Poland. It's a global corporatist group that's almost impossible to actually pin down or stop, because it's a bunch of interlocking multinational corporations, bigger GDPs together than 4 or 5 top nations combined. Of the top 100 GDPs in the world, more than 50 are corporations now, just to give you an idea. You can look that up. I think it was like 12 years ago we crossed the Rubicon where more than 50% of the top 100 economies are corporations, not countries. And they're above the law, and they write the laws, and they write the rules, and they don't want you to be in business, and they don't want you to use cash, and they don't want you to go to the farmer's market, and they don't want you to go to a local business, and they don't. And so it's our job, as much as we can, to not traffic with big establishment corporations and businesses. Whenever I went to England to cover Bilderberg, and I'm going to your calls this year a few months ago, I had an MI5 group of people show up, and were waiting for me downstairs, and they only made themselves known when I was alone, and just came up and gave me some intel that turned out to be accurate. And then the local police head liaison for the county and all the other departments met with me and had dinner, and he's very professional, and in fact, he didn't eat. He had a Coca-Cola, and he said, "I'm really surprised you're staying at a corporate hotel. I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be staying at a mom and pop. You're a hypocrite." And I said, "Listen, we don't always do everything perfectly. This is all we could get for enough rooms for all of my crew. We tried the local mom and pops." And he goes, "Okay, I see your point." But he was actually right. And what was funny is when I ran into the MI5 people, they said the same thing. And they weren't just putting me on. They were genuinely pissed off at the system. And I was telling police, well, you know your cancer rates have more than tripled. And here's a London Independent article that was laying there in the hotel, you know, free every day, saying that by 2020, half of Brits will have cancer. And they said, we know about the health service. I don't need to be told about it. My mother just died. And then we had one listener who was out there, remember, who was walking by the Grove grounds where the golf course and the hotel are, past a private citizen's home in the semi-rural area. It's like suburb into rural. And that's my favorite type of place, like where it's rural, but also it's like still got some city in it. And the guy goes, "No, you can come here. You're my guest. Police don't harass him." And the guy's like, "Get away from me. My wife just died in your National Health Service waiting for care for," you know. I mean, they're mad, folks. They get the governments out to screw them. And we have to get that same attitude and understand it is a corporate globalist government that is absolutely out to get us, and we've got to shop with local businesses. We've got to support local restaurants. We've got to support local factories. We've got to support the local lumber yard, even if their service isn't as good, and even if it costs a little more because they don't have everything rigged, and even if their, you know, alcoholic son is out back giving you the wood and is rude to you. If you don't support those local people, it's over, folks, because the globalists want to shut this economy down. I'm done ranting. Interpol chief, arm citizens globally to prevent terror attacks. Wow. Interpol chief, Interpol Secretary General Ronald Noble told ABC News that one of the ways to prevent terrorists from hitting soft targets was to arm citizens globally, noting that the Westgate Mall siege would have been averted far quicker if it had taken place in gun-friendly states like Denver or Texas. I wonder how long this guy's going to be the head of Interpol. Not very quick. Common sense? Man, I bet he's canned in 3 months. They're going to start looking for reasons, just like Ted Cruz. I see these comments and emails. Why aren't you covering Ted Cruz and his corruption and stuff in the Bahamas? Oh, I'm sorry. Decades ago, his college buddy started a business and asked all his friends to invest. That's what you do to help each other. He invested $6,000 and had forgotten about it on his financial holdings. You think some lawyer that's, makes $500,000 a year as a top lawyer remembers some investment he made with a college buddy for $6,000? This is the dirtiness of him being on some board with his college buddy, compared to like Dianne Feinstein, who went to Congress with less than $1 million and is now worth $100 million, and who gives deals in biotech to her husband worth billions, who's worth billions. I mean, no. Oh, forget all that. Forget, I mean, it's like if you talk about liberty, they say you're a racist with no proof. Southern Poverty Law Center, MSNBC. But if you actually say, I admire Hitler, I want to be a dictator, black people aren't humans, I always admired Hitler, then you get ADL, Southern Poverty Law Center Award. See, you have to dress in a Nazi uniform. Your father has to be an SS officer. You have to be best friends with a former top SS officer, Kirk Valtime, who killed U.S. soldiers who were caught behind enemy lines in Serbia. If you're an actual purebred SS product marriage, his brother was older than him, actually born in World War II. Arnold was born after World War II. The product of an SS breeding campaign. If you're the product of an SS breeding campaign, then you get an ADL award. I'm serious. He's got their highest awards. If you stand against Nazism, you're attacked. Now, that's upside down, isn't it? That's how it works. So they'll be digging around in the Interpol chief's dossier to find something now. Maybe he has a crooked toenail or something. Let's go ahead and talk to, common sense rears its head. Peter in Washington, you're on the air, extremist. Thank you for calling in.
Hello, Alex. You can hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay. I just want to talk about one of the issues that you had brought up on the Middle East. And, going back to the history of the intelligence services operating with the fanatics, I think the basis of it was the wipeout of a British command post at Khartoum by a charismatic figure called the Moxie and his followers. But what I wanted to bring out is that it wasn't all cynicism, that I think there was some conversion going on. Years ago, I read a novel by Kipling called The Light That Failed, about an artist that lost his sight. Well, I saw the movie, and then I read the book. And the book, this was kind of, suggested that this sort of thing was happening. And what brought it back to me, is I picked up an old book by John Buchan, who wrote the famous spy thriller, The 39 Steps. This book was printed in 1916, called Green Mantle, and the plot was that the Kaiser was going to set something like this up, to drive the British out of Turkey. And I know those are novels, but both of those people were well known.
Sure, so bottom line, what are you saying about World War I? What are you saying about the Muslims?
I'm saying that some of these people in British intelligence were converts. Now, as to Lawrence of Arabia, I don't know it.
Oh, yeah, but we know a bunch of Masons that became Muslims as well. And didn't Napoleon? Oh, sure, a lot of folks do end up converting to Islam, and that is true. We'll be right back. So, folks, the Democrats have come out and said that they're warming to it. They like the fact that it doesn't work, and they like the fact it's doubling everybody's premiums. And you've heard them call into this show, and you've seen them comment on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, that actually this is a master plan by their leader to wreck the old corrupt system and to finally bring them something good later. So, just like Stalin told folks, and then of course, other people before him like Lenin and then Mao later in China, it's going to be horrible, but later it's going to get better for you. And, of course, it just gets worse. So they are really buying into that, and they're saying that it's now not a dirty word. That's what Fox News is saying. Delay is suddenly not a dirty word at the White House. Let's go back to your calls. And then I've got special guests in studio who say they support mandatory vaccination, and they're going to be out in the streets of Austin, where I live, promoting that children take more shots because, well, you heard them say, I'm going to actually play the local newscast. I'm not joking here. Mercury is good for children. These people believe mercury is good for your brain and makes you behave yourself like a good zombie. Mike, Louisiana, go ahead, sir. Thank you for calling in. You're on the air.
Yes, Alex, Mike, roving info wagon. I want to thank you for giving me a boost, the contributions that came in. I also like to give you a little history of myself. I'm a 66-year-old artist activist. I'm political.
You're a terror activist?
Yes, sir. Some of my designs are hanging in my gallery on Royal Street, which is kind of surprising me because they're rather provocative. But anyway, I'd like to send you some of them, my best designs, also as a thank you for what you've done so far.
You bet, brother. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760. We have fine Liberty art hanging all over the office. In fact, so much of it, we're finding new places to hang it. But thank you so much. Did you want to comment on Obamacare or anything? Or?
Well, yes, and I'd also like to go ahead and give you, I do what you do on the streets without the protection of walls or a gun on me. I thought about packing. I do carry my mace and my rod and my knife.
How dare you?
I parked my wagon right in front of the Supreme Court building next to the police department. The other day I gave you stories about some of the good responses, but I got to tell you, there isn't a day that goes by I'm not called a racist. I don't do battle.
Okay, and for new listeners that joined us that weren't here when you called in last week, you have a bicycle hooked to a two-sided big plasma screen TV with audio speakers playing my show, my videos, my films, and you go around and you said you get very positive stuff from the military and others now. You were saying overwhelmingly positive, but you're saying some of it's negative. And yes, any criticism, if you say Obamacare is a scam, because it is a scam, you're a racist. If you say you don't want to give your kids vaccines, you're a racist. My wife was told by family, now not all her family's like this, they're great folks, but some of her distant family, that Christianity is inherently racist. And she said, well, how is it racist? You mean you could say it's bigoted or you don't agree with it? No, no, no. Hobby Lobby is racist because they're not open on Sundays. So it's literally a weapon that these people use because they don't have any intellectual argument. It's a cult of authoritarians calling themselves liberal. And so briefly, tell us what happened to you.
Well, I countered them. Like, I'll have a poster there of Obama giving immunity to the Bush administration for war crimes. I've actually had some of the Obama bots look at that and say, oh, that isn't true. And then I challenge them. I say, well, let's get on the computer here and take a look at it. And they'll walk away like I have AIDS or something. They're trying to get away.
Well, yeah, because their false identity that they're winners, they're with Obama, that fantasy, like buying the lottery ticket, I'm going to win $5 million this week, and of course you don't. It's one chance out of $1 billion. Doesn't matter. For that 1 week, they can fantasize what they're going to do with $1 billion. I can't tell you, about half people I know in Austin are musicians, talented. They all imagine they're going to be rock stars or rap stars or whatever it is. And they run around in circles all day saying, I can't wait till I'm famous. And some of them are like 55 years old and don't even have a band, but they really think they're going to be famous. Why don't they go out and love what they're doing and have a good time with it, or teach kids how to play instruments or whatever? No, no, no. They feel unfulfilled until they have become rock stars. And we're a nation of imaginary wannabe delusional narcissists, and because they can't have it, there's a new mental illness I'm seeing. Well, it's an old mental illness, but it's intensifying. I don't know what you call it, where people actually decide they're famous when they're not, and then just are mean to people to have power over them. It's pretty sick, but keep it up. Great job. Doesn't matter if the sheeple laugh at you. They don't count. I mean, these people can't even stand up at the White House. I mean, the average Democratic follower is so dumbed down. Even if they're a young woman, they can't even stand up. And before she fell over, she was like, ooh. Probably had 500 vaccines, probably doesn't even know 2 + 2 = 4. Well, under Common Core, it doesn't. The federal government has financed the Journal of Pediatrics twice to come out and say that mercury is good for brain tissue. Doesn't matter that mercury is one of the most documented heavy metals to be totally destructive to brain tissue and actually cause electrochemical explosions in the brain. And we've written countless news articles about that, showing electron microscope film footage of what tiny amounts of mercury, the type that's in vaccines, the thimerosal does to the brain. But when the government says mercury is good for your learning and behavior, they mean learning how to be a dumbed-down zombie, learning how to go to the White House and collapse because you're so damaged from the GMO, the fluoride in the water, and the bromine, the lack of proper nascent iodine, and just the horrible diet. I mean, we are a cursed nation, that's a fact. But before I get to this breaking news and having studio folks that actually support going around trying to get kids to take more vaccines, ghoulish-type characters, lunatics in my view, in my opinion. I don't think it is my opinion, crazies. I want to play you some other crazies. This is CBS News locally. Again, this aired all over the country locally. It's a package produced nationally that local teleprompter readers read, because in PSYOPs, you believe locals more than national. But remember, these are really national folks parroting what came from the national talking point, that mercury is good for your brain. And remember, Obama said Obamacare is performing better than thought. And it's really doing great right now. So mercury's good. Obamacare is great. Raising the debt ceiling does not raise the debt ceiling. The founding fathers are bad. Freedom is bad. Tyranny is good. Drink your fluoride, even though the Harvard study admits it gives you cancer and lowers your IQ. But we need your IQ lowered under Common Core. They teach now in the public schools, 2 + 2 = 5. And if you don't agree with that, you're racist. So let's go ahead and go to this CBS clip. Here it is.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to two new studies in the journal Pediatrics.
And pigs may fly.
There have been widespread concerns that mercury-based preservatives in vaccines might impair the neurological development of children. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
And, of course, Ted Turner wants 90% of us dead, so I guess improved mental behavior is you're in a coffin. So, I mean, this is the craziness we're dealing with. I'm crazy because I have medical doctors on exposing what's really happening. Now, if you go to the CDC and just type in vaccine side effects, you'll get the major vaccines that are out there, and there's thousands of pages, but just the synopsis is more than 30 pages long, and it's got death, headache, stuffy nose, abdominal pain, diarrhea, fever, blood in urine or stool, pneumonia, inflammation of stomach and intestines. Yeah, how about Crohn's disease? You can get, just all sorts of stuff, death, headaches, fatigue, Guillain-Barré, seizures, permanent seizures, fussiness, vomiting, tiredness, autoimmune disorders. You can just go through all the wonderful things, fevers, brain damage. The list just goes on and on, all the horrible things it does to you. Of course, Gardasil can kill you, cause brain damage, autoimmune disorders. So, I just suggest that you go and check all this out, because with other drugs, deafness, long-term seizures, coma, lowered consciousness, permanent brain damage. I mean, this is but every year before school, they put out paid-for magazine, newspaper, TV things saying there are no side effects. Alex Jones, the lying scumbag. We've read these articles. Other people are lying scumbags. Dr. Blaylock, brain surgeon, went on Alex Jones. AP reported he's horrible. He said it's causing autism and brain damage, and he's a big fat liar. And I mean, here we are just reading from the documents themselves. I could just keep going here with the death and the nausea and the neurological disorders and just everything else that this stuff does. And then, of course, they have a multi-billion-dollar fund that if you can jump through thousands of hoops, and if your doctor does his job and reports it was the vaccine, that then they'll pay you out a paltry sum for your brain-damaged child. And they make you sign a vaccine adverse events reporting system to see what's going on, to fine-tune their vaccines so they don't openly damage you right away. They want you to crawl off and die a long, painful death so the medical system can suck all your money out first while your child has to have their diapers changed till they're 35 and then finally die. So that's all part of the plan right there. Just thought you might want to know about all that. And we have right here for the flu shot itself from the CDC.gov, all the things it can do to you. Guillain-Barré's, seizures, deaths, all sorts of thyroid problems, hives, angina, just heart problems, again, neurological disorders, being paralyzed, just some really fun stuff here that's going to go on, of course. Now, all that said, the flu shot never protects you from the actual flu that's out there. And it actually lowers your immunity and doubles your chances the next year of getting the regular seasonal flu. That's a major Canadian-British joint study, and there's also U.S. studies showing that. So I thought we would send out the crew to some of the local places that are pushing. I mean, hey, want 10% off your bill? Take a shot. We get kickbacks from the government that wants to hurt you. Of course, the average person working there doesn't know this. Or, hey, fluoride for babies in the water or in the formula, when they've said for 7 years, don't give it to children to age 5, and it lowers IQ and makes their teeth have fluorosis when their teeth erupt. But, you know, so what? I mean, who needs an IQ? So we're going to be handing out these flyers. Says, know the risk of the flu shot. The CDC website admits the following. Concerning the seasonal flu shot, you could get Guillain-Barré syndrome from the flu shot. And it says source cdc.gov. We just showed you that. Serious reactions can occur from getting the shot. Reactions include breathing problems. Well, who needs to breathe? Hoarseness or wheezing, hives, paleness, weakness, and fast heartbeat or dizziness. Sure, but of course, Guillain-Barré being paralyzed, that's fun. And it goes on, said you can get sick from the shot and even get the flu after receiving the shot. Well, they actually show actuaries, again, insurance companies know, right after the shots roll out, that's when it starts. Just like they've got to keep polio going, so they give live polio vaccine still with live cancer virus in it. And they've got it down where it's a footnote in the paper. Yeah, 60+ thousand kids got paralyzed. A bunch of them died after the shots. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in India. Just don't worry about it. But by the way, you know, a cop dropped a ham sandwich. Let's have a parade for it. You know, it just, I think that's normal. I think that's good. So we now have with us Nurse Death and Prozac the Killer Clown. Both of them are here in studio with us today. And you guys are going to now be going out to different facilities around Austin, you know, encouraging people to take their vaccines, but actually giving them little handouts with what the disorders are, because they won't tell you there's any adverse reactions. Notice with any other drug, they admit all the bad stuff it can do to you in the TV ad. Right. Or at least, but not in these. They tell you it's safe and effective. It's a conspiracy theory. It only helps you. And it's not that vaccines couldn't be a technology that could actually be good. It's that a secret government that does testing on us and has a criminal record of injecting people with syphilis, human papillomaviruses, SV40 viruses that they admit gave 100 million people cancer and killed most of them. That's all public. But I think you guys may be right. We should have people take more shots. We should trust these people and take their injections and let them lie to us and say there's no adverse reactions. So Nurse Death, I'm very proud of the work you're doing. Actually, I think you guys are really doing a horrible thing out there. And we have Prozac, the Killer Clown, here with us. And guys, tell us about why you support this and want to get the kids to take their shots and then get a lollipop.
Well, thanks for having us on here, Alex. I just wanted to say, oh man, what a theme park of suffering you just went through there. That was beautiful. I love side effects. I love hearing about them. And thank you for bringing them all out. I mean, myself this morning, I had bloating. My ulcer exploded. I had some gas. But the nurse Death, she put some stuff in me. I'm not sure if it's me or the stuff she's putting in me that made me feel worse. But
you have irritable bowel, a trail of diarrhea behind you?
Oh, absolutely. They had to get the mop in here. Anyway, what a wonderful thing. One thing you didn't mention was the formaldehyde that causes cancer. Oh, right. Man.
My favorite.
Oh, you gotta love that.
Well, you know, instead of just giving the kids lollipops for a Pavlovian response of getting their IQ reduction shot, couldn't we have formaldehyde lollipops and just kill them right there on the spot?
What I'd like to see is everybody just dress up as guinea pigs. Because I see all of you as stupid guinea pigs. And if we could just load you up, every one of you, if you could just put some kind of guinea pig uniform on, or maybe a lemming thing, jump off a cliff as you're suffering from.
Well, that would be nice. Ted Turner would actually like to just kill us right out, but I mean, John P. Holder says we do it through the water and the shots instead.
Yes, Ted Turner pushed me down a flight of stairs. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know what happened to me yesterday because of all the side effects, but.
But isn't it great? Hey, wait a minute.
He needs nice teeth. I mean.
Yeah, well, you seem Nurse Death. Tell us why you're here. And I guess he's a little upset you're here to administer some more mercury.
Yes.
Because we just heard from CBS News it's good for kids.
Everyone should have their daily dose of cancer and mental confusion, as well as diabetes.
How's that feel? Go ahead and give him a shot. How's that feel?
Oh, you should be feeling dizzy.
I'm completely confused. I love it.
You love the new Obamacare. Is it free?
Seizures.
Oh, it's totally free. Just get on the computer, anybody's computer.
Well, they now say they're going to refuse health care unless you take the vaccines. And they're also going to make, Christian groups pay for abortions. Isn't that good?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. In fact, all the churches, I'm so glad to see all the pastors giving in to what the money does for them instead of actually pushing Christian values. Who needs that bunk anyway, right?
Well, who even needs kids? We could just inject the kids with mercury like Jim Jones and kill them all at the church.
That would be... Oh,
why not just kill them right away? But I guess if you kill them real slow, though, and give them all these diseases and brain damage them, that's better. Explain to me, Nurse Death, why it's important to wreck their lives and make them die over 30 years instead of right away.
Well, polysorbate 80 right here causes infertility. So, just a little dose of this every flu season.
I haven't been fertile since 1973.
So, Nurse Death, tell us about what you're going to be out there telling the public to do. You're going to pull up in the van, you're going to have candy for the kids, and you're going to say, I have mercury for you. And if the cops say, hey, mercury's dangerous, don't inject kids on the side of the road with mercury, you go, no, it's good for them.
This is part of Obamacare. I'm Nurse Death, here to administer.
What's the big deal, man?
A little seizure's never hurt anyone.
Well, it's racist if you don't want to have a seizure.
Exactly. Are you racist against brain damage and kidney failure?
Yeah, somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've been taking all this Prozac. I feel so happy, but my diarrhea is out of control. You know what I say? Racist!
Well, that's the answer. Actually, if you say Obamacare was written by foreign insurance companies and is only a fine on everybody and will wreck health care, they just scream racist, and it is racist.
Completely.
It's racist against the globalists that are trying to get a hold of the human population and kill everybody.
Hey, nurse, hang on.
For Big Pharma.
Somebody called Obama. I think I'm going to faint.
Somebody get Obama. Here.
Hey, look, you notice everybody on that stage looked like they couldn't tie their shoelaces. I guess they've been having their shots, huh?
Only 3 of those people had actually signed up.
Well, that's what it was. He found...
No, they think they signed up.
Right.
The 6 people in America that were able to get through, and he had them on stage.
You gotta love it.
Obamacare. It's just, they're glitches. They're just glitches in the system. Nothing wrong with the glitch.
And thank heavens for Sebelius for coming out and explaining to the whole world from this week, that everything's fine. Enjoy your side effects. If you're having a spasm of the lyrics, am I hallucinating again?
You just want them to suck your brain out, don't you? The vaccine just lovingly brain suck. Ah, there you go. No more pain. Save it, Rockefeller loves you. Brains are good. Oh, God. Hey, I mean, that's not crazy to say mercury's good for your child's brain. I agree with CBS News.
Oh, absolutely. They're not misinformed at all.
And it's actually
they're the news.
Well, I like how, I know you worked in local TV, before you became the clown.
Yeah,
and
a cameraman.
I like how they just, with straight faces, just openly say it's good for children.
Well, it's not their job to know anything.
It'd be like if the teleprompter said, and today will be human sacrificing children on the news. And there's like, oh, quite normal.
Absolutely. You just, get what's written for you and read it, and you'll be fine.
If they told him, report to the local FEMA camp, we're going to throw you in a wood chipper, I think they'd say that. And tonight, we'll be throwing your children into wood chippers. Tonight at 7.
Sounds like a new holiday to me.
Sure make my job easier.
Now, talk about what you're going to be saying to the especially the children, because I know Nurse Death, you love them. So what are you going to say to the little kids when you're out there in front of the Walgreens and Walmarts?
I'm just going to say, come here, kiddies. Didn't you want a little brain damage, a little cancer? Didn't you hear about hair loss? What about that? Asthma, nausea, drought.
Hey, they're already banning playtime and not letting you run at recess. How about Guillain-Barré? You'll be paralyzed.
Pick your favorite. I've got several to choose from.
Think you're going to grow up and have kids? No, you're not.
Pick your poison.
I'm going to be making balloon animals for the kids. And, of course, all these animals will be afflicted with severe side effects.
I want to give you the floor, Nurse Death. We've heard enough from Prozac, the killer clown over there. Are you proud of the fact that he is the master drug that sub-derivatives of almost every shooter has been on, and that he's never gotten the blame, even though the insert says it'll make you commit mass murder and kill people and make you delusional, and then you add it with Pentagon-designed shoot-'em-up killing games that teach you to have instinctive shooting, and they go out and murder everybody, and then we all get blamed for what Big Pharma does?
I think he's doing a fantastic job. It's hilarious that we not only put it on the inserts, but we spell it right out for you in the commercials that it may cause mass murder. And people are like, oh, my goodness, it's going to help me. I'm going to need that.
But, you know, that's not a bow tie. That's actually a cancerous growth from the from the HPV shot.
I inject him with ulcers daily.
I mean, who doesn't want a tumor that looks like that? It looks like a butterfly.
Isn't that a beaut?
It's a happy glitch.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Death. How handsome is Prozac the Killer Clown? I mean, tell all the other guys like beer commercials, if you look like this and have the IQ of an amoeba, you will get the ladies.
And if not, my shots here cause blindness and deafness, so, you know, who needs to even actually see this guy? He is quite a stud, though. I love his teeth.
Just more Sports Center for
more
me.
fluoride.
She's just talking out of her, you know what, because I'm completely sexually dysfunctional.
I make sure of it.
Well, I mean, what's wrong? Seriously.
It's squalene.
I mean, what's wrong? The kids need more mercury.
Absolutely.
Well, when you're out handing these flyers out to folks that actually you're warning people, but I guess you guys are so brain damaged from all the vaccines you don't know that. What else are you going to say to people, Nurse Death?
People are into death, though, and they're into getting sick, and they're really into cancer and raising awareness of cancer. So they might be into getting
Yeah, not raising awareness to why it's exploding.
Exactly.
But raising awareness to give it to the big companies that are actually behind it.
Just be aware of how much we need you to get cancer and to go get your flu shot so that we can
So safe and effective.
Release our profits.
Safe and effective. Don't listen to people. There's no side effects.
Exactly.
Except death.
And I'm pretty sure that even when we hand them out the side effects, they're going to be like, whoa, and they're going to walk.
Well, stay there.
inside.
Stay there. Stay there. Yeah, we're back live. Got serious stuff coming up where the former Navy SEAL speaks out on how they're trying to engineer vets to revolt to bring in martial law. We're going to be talking to him coming up. And we'll continue with your phone calls as well for everybody that's holding. But we're trying to reach out to the general public who'll later watch this on YouTube or wherever and, you know, actually get a chance. If you're a radio listener, you can go to Infowars.com/show. And see the free video feeds, or be a PrisonPlanet.tv subscriber and see it in higher def, and also see the nightly news and all the films. But you can see Leanne McAdoo playing Nurse Death, and also Prozac the Killer Clown. But I thought I'd show you from WebMD, the official Prozac, and it's even worse with the other ones that came out of it, what it does. Abnormal dreams, infrequent side effects, they claim, fast heartbeat, chest pain, chronic trouble sleeping. And it goes on to say, hepatitis, bleeding of the stomach and intestines, neuroleptic malignant syndrome, confusion, having the excessive cheerfulness and activity, mild degree of mania, having thoughts of suicide, sun-sensitive skin, loss of memory, mood changes, loss of one's sense of reality and identity. That's why they got 20% of the public on it. So Prozac, you're pretty excited about that.
Oh, yeah, it's like a roller coaster ride from hell. And I'm on it, baby. I just want kids
they're putting kids as young as 2 on it because they can see the pretty colors, too. Go ahead.
Well, if you take a shot, kids, I'm sorry, I'm in a mood change. If you take one of these shots, there's a puppy in every shot. So as you go to sleep, you'll see a puppy or a kitty, whichever one you like. Okay?
And if you're a small enough baby, you'll have sudden infant death syndrome, and you'll really sleep.
Oh, joy.
That's a little gift from the New World Order, and they get away with it hidden in plain view, murdering everybody.
Bonus.
Murdering, so liberal.
So liberal. I love murder.
Oh, I love murder.
Well, you got to love the New World Order. They're really on to something, aren't they?
Yeah, they know how to get us to go along with all this. All right, sickos. Seriously, get out there and warn everybody. Get their attention. You should call the media, too, and just say, we're going to be there in 1 hour. And then, you know, show up not on the property of Walmart or Walgreens, wherever you choose first, but out on the edge. They'll still run out until you can't be on the sidewalk. Just be polite when the cops get there and explain it all and show the tyranny. We're just here warning what you're doing in here, what you're pushing.
Shoot people up with hepatitis and mercury in 1 hour.
And also, all the money we're going to be taking, all that Obamacare that you can't afford.
We need to can make that guy the head of Health and Human Services.
It's our poster child.
They're ready to have you at Bohemian Grove.
I just got back.
I appreciate what you're doing for all the kids. You killed quite a few.
No, I'm dizzy.
Yeah.
But maimed others. Those are the lucky ones.
Right, yeah. Just
Actually, I shouldn't even joke. There's parents listening right now who had their kids killed by this. I've met them. But, hey, go out and try to warn the pregnant. Go out and warn the pregnant women. Be serious. Go out and warn people. This is a great way to get through to them. And whoever made up the idea, it's a good idea.
Thanks for giving us the recognition we deserve.
Whose idea was this?
It'd be our producer, Rob Dew.
Lord Dew of InfoWars Nightly News. All right, guys, go on. Let folks see your outfits. Go ahead and stand up there. There you go, John.
Murder.
Go ahead and go ahead. Oh, by the way, I forgot. What about this? The nascent iodine that holds back the fluoride. And from InfoWarsLive.com.
Run!
Run! All right, I've driven them back. A little bit of ridiculousness. All right, we're going to come back, take a few phone calls, and get the Navy SEAL on, who went on Fox News last week, and he was there helping remove the barricades and with the speakers. And I got to meet one of the World War II vets that was there as well at the Alamo rally. We'll get his take uncensored coming up. But briefly, we are listener-supported here, folks, and we're just trying and testing different ways to try to wake people up. And we also then try to promote things that are part of the solution, like high-quality Pro Pure water filtration, 10% off promo code WATER at InfoWarsStore.com with promo code WATER, and that purchase also supports the overall broadcast. And don't forget, the nascent iodine, it's sold out, but more gets here in 2 or 3 weeks. If you want to get in line and pre-order it. And it also supports the broadcast, Survival Shield by InfoWars Life, InfoWarsLife.com, or 888-253-3139.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
All right, we're going to your phone calls right now. I've got a bunch of breaking news we'll get to as well. We've got Benjamin Smith, Navy SEAL and contractor veteran, who's been part of the demonstrations for the World War II memorials to be open. He's going to give us his take on the whole PSYOP that's going on. That's coming up. Get him via cell phone. Let's go to your phone calls. Michael in Florida, thanks for calling in, sir. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex. First of all, I want to say I'm a huge fan and that you're truly inspirational.
Well, thank you, brother. We're just trying to survive like everybody else and beat these tyrants who are on our back.
Yeah, I see what you mean. But last spring, I graduated high school, and over the summer, I was looking for work, and I decided to become an insurance agent because a lot of people said that with the Affordable Care Act, that isn't so affordable, that I'd be able to make a lot of money in it. So I was just seeing, I want you to elaborate on what you think are some of the biggest flaws with Obamacare, and when, like, maybe a time frame of when it will implode or something like that.
Well, I mean, look, they can implement it any way they want, like all these big bills, these omnibus bills. It's got 10,000, now it's 12,000 pages of riders. It's a 3,000-page bill, and it's got death panels. It's got the insurance companies wrote it to lower the standard of care and charge you more, make you buy it. I mean, when I say it's going to implode, it's going to implode the country. But they're going to, I mean, it's the biggest tax ever, a private corporate tax to offshore banks that own the insurance companies of up to $5,000 or more a year per person, and then you won't even get the health care, and it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions, and it just cheats everybody. I mean, it is just the ultimate screw job. And our health care system's gotten bad. It was the best in the world. Nobody doubted that. Because insurance companies and HMOs got involved and rigged it to begin with, to overcharge people that have insurance, and then, screw up the charity care system. So I don't know. But, I mean, look, the computer system is designed to not work, and the Obama supporters are already saying they like it not working. I mean, it's a cult. They would drink cyanide Kool-Aid in order to do so. And the Republican leadership attacked Ted Cruz and Rand Paul. They helped write it. They're owned by the same interest. They want it. So, I mean, we're in deep trouble. I mean, tyrants get away with a lot once they're in charge, so I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, but it's going to sink the country. I know that. What do you think is going to happen?
I really don't know. I just graduated high school last spring. I thought this would be a good opportunity. My dad's been an insurance agent for 20 years, and he said with the Affordable Care Act that everyone's going to need insurance. And, for everything I'm hearing from you, I hear both sides of the story. I hear the insurance side, which everyone says it's good, and then I hear your side, how it's terrible and it's going to implode.
Well, listen, most insurance people I talk to are freaking out the last year because they've already seen it go up just in anticipation. They're now, on average, doubling people's premium. I mean, everybody I know, their premiums doubled. Everybody I know, their premiums doubled. My dad's, mine, I mean, everybody. And we never even use our insurance. I had Geraldo Rivera, big liberal, who supported it early on. He's got 6 employees. It's doubled. It's doubled already. Did you know it's set to double again by 2015? You think people can pay that? People can pay $20,000 a year?
Definitely not. And then they're just going to get fined if they don't have it. So it's a lose-lose, basically.
But it's a win-win. The insurance companies make everybody get it. They lower the quality. And then the government gets to fine everybody that can't do it. They're going to take your house. They're going to take everything. They're going to garnish your wages. That's why they want a digital grid in. Once they have a digital grid in, once they can track everything, it's over. Okay? And we told you it was crashing 2.5 weeks ago, a week before Forbes did, on purpose. It isn't a screw-up. They could have had chimpanzees on Mountain Dew and PCP with typewriters write better code, okay? The front works. There's nothing behind it. The only thing that works is getting your data, okay? It gets your data, and it gets some type of, this is out today, some type of NSA data mine connection to your computer. They want to track who doesn't have insurance to now put you in a database to gang rape your paycheck. Okay, I mean, that's it. They were targeting you to get poor people's paychecks. I mean, it's incredible evil. That's what the Obamacare is, okay? And look, folks, people know I'm nonpartisan. I'm a libertarian. I've never seen anything like Obama. I mean, he is the worst president ever. Benjamin Smith was on Fox News last week, and it made national news. Ex-Navy SEAL, government provoking vets to bring on martial law. And he joins us right now. He, of course, was up there with the World War II vets and others for veterans' rights and against having the memorials that are open air and don't have security at them being purposely closed. We've had park officials say they were told to do that to, quote, make people as miserable as possible. That's an Associated Press headline. And he joins us to go over some of the things that are happening and going on. He's a veteran of quite a few different tours. U.S. Navy, 2000, 2005, a SEAL, 2001, served in Iraq, South America, and the Horn of Africa, I guess Somalia and around there. And now he works, or has been working, as a private security company in Iraq since 2006. So I'd love to get him on sometime just to talk about what those experiences were like. But I wanted to get him on so he wouldn't just have a few minutes like Fox, to spend 20 minutes with us and really break down what he saw at the memorials, the intel he's got from elected officials and others about the plan to try to get vets into some type of conflict with the federal government, and how he thinks we can try to avert the bad situation this country has gotten into. So, Benjamin Smith, thank you for coming on with us.
Hey, yeah, man, it's good to be on. Yeah, ex-Navy SEAL, like if you hear ex, that usually means you've been kicked out. I'm former, but, you know.
That's right, former. You didn't get kicked out. Sure, yeah.
So I'm a veteran. Oh, man. It's this is such a topic that is talked about within the movement, people who understand military and strategy and tactics. There's, you know, most people, the conversation you hear amongst people you see speaking at rallies, at functions, even political people, elected officials, the conversation, it's kind of the conversation where you look over each shoulder and you start having the talk because you feel really uncomfortable having it, that in your country, a logical conversation is now being had and has been for a bit, but you don't see it on any of the news things where the government might be trying to get you into a position that is the most painful for us, you know, like downturn of economies and all of trying to get us, to provoke us to do something either violent or stupid. There's always low-hanging fruit. You have them on the left, you have them on the right, and they're trying to get those people to start doing something stupid. And at that point, they can shut us down. And, whenever anyone says martial law, that kind of is buzzword for, say, lefty politicians or a lot of people who aren't aware of anything to just start saying conspiracy theorists. These guys are nutso, windbags, crazy, fringe, violent, like all those things. And then if you do your research and you look at what they've said and, just get down to the facts, instead of sounding rebellious and you just have the logical conversation, you can logically go about pointing to things and say, yeah, that's what they're trying to do. It's obvious. And the conversation topics at that memorial was, most veterans see this in conversations I have with, people with a spec op background, not going to go into specifics on who, but within the communities, you can see it. And it's a logical conversation, not as in the topic of like, we need to rebel and violence. No, that's not it. It's very much a logical, here's what we see, here's why, here's what they've said, here's what's happened, here's who's it affected, and, here's the outcome. And just in the pure analysis, a logical analysis of things that have been happening over the past, you got 5 years because you've got Obama in office now. But if you trace it back, you can look all the way back to, Russia and all like the Cold War, like things like that. There's a lot of logical streams to whereas things are starting to come to a head now. And if we're uneducated and don't have the wherewithal to do our research, to read, to look at history and how it repeats itself, we are subject to losing everything, absolutely. And, it could be another 1,200 years before anything that would resemble freedom, individual sovereignty would ever surface again. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I absolutely hear what you're saying. And again, veteran Navy SEAL Benjamin Smith is our guest. We should probably contact the folks with Biz Pacer Review because they do say ex-Navy SEAL, but most people, unless you've been in the military, just think that means former. But veteran Navy SEAL joins us. And talk about, if you can, your colleagues, other veterans of the armed services. I know what I see. I know family I have that are in the military. I know what I get from Stuart Rhodes, the head of Oath Keepers, and countless other contacts I have. FBI agents, former Secret Service agents, current, people like Dan Bongino. He says about half the enlisted he talks to are awake. About 60, 70%, 80% of special warfare people. I was down at a San Antonio open carry rally this weekend, and there were San Antonio cops there in plain clothes with their guns, and there were Army PSYOPs people there saying almost everybody's awake, and they said a year ago it was less than 50%. So I'm seeing a massive awakening to criminal elements across the board in government that are trying to convert our republic over to a banana-style situation. So tell us from your colleagues, the folks you were there at the rallies, what you're witnessing and what the numbers are you're seeing, Benjamin.
Well, going back to the beginning of this administration, I've had friends within the community talking about how they were brought in and, questioned with people from, more towards the top side. And the questioning resulted in kind of where it was pointing was, do you feel comfortable disarming American citizens? And you can see that now with the shedding of a lot of the officers and stuff like that. It's we don't have the 100% track on it, but, there's a lot of funny things happening within military.
Now that's bombshell, but I want to quantify that. I have Secret Service, FBI sources on record on the air, but also covert sources that are currently in. They say exactly that for 2 years. There is a litmus test where officers from the generals down to lieutenant generals, down to majors, down to sergeant, master sergeants, will you fire on U.S. citizens? And if you say no, you're sent to the worst hellhole or basically kicked out. If you say yes, you're put into special Homeland Security units. Quantify, you're saying people in the community, special warfare community, are saying they have been brought into litmus test meetings.
Yeah. And at this moment in this conversation, it's God, to bring it back to Van Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Like, you remember him when he said you have to, like, for us to have the argument or to just have the conversation logically, and what he was saying with, like, the communists and the lefties and everything that Van Jones is, it's you drop the radical pose for the radical ends. And just to translate that into what this is, you know, I understand a lot of libertarian, Ron Paul, a lot of people that are your listeners get like fervent and very strong about it. And it's not about, you know, being that person that's the loudest right there, having that logical conversation to where someone else can reply and you can go back with facts. And it's a logical conversation that needs to be had. And it's starting to, you know, like, I couldn't believe he actually, that Hemmer actually asked me on air about, you know, it was kind of a surprise that he asked me. Like, you know, you think that the government's trying to declare martial law. I'm sitting there going like, oh, geez, is this an ambush? If I answer this wrong, this is, you know, everything goes down the drain and I'm a kook. But the thing is, Sheila Jackson Lee, you always have somebody, if you've even got the tightest plan, there's always somebody who gives up the jig or says something that's more right to the point than anything else.
Well, that's right. The rhetoric from the authoritarian left, because they're not really liberals. Thomas Jefferson was a liberal. I see myself as a real liberal, you know, more freedom. These people are not liberals, and that's all they talk about is how they want to round up the Tea Party. I mean, that's in Forbes and the Washington Times, and then she gives a speech and talks about political martial law. Well, that's the first order of martial law is political before it becomes physical, and Obama says he may have to do stuff without Congress, and NATO is over our military. I'm just backing you up. Benjamin Smith joining us, veteran, Navy SEAL, just all over the Middle East and Africa, you name it, joining us here. And you know, he's really the tip of the spear. He's willing to openly say what most people I talk to have you know, told me privately about their concern. But let's expand on this then. You know, studying warfare, studying psychological warfare, you know, using truth, the ultimate weapon in that, having our gold, having the moral high ground, our gold for liberty. What do you think we should do then? I mean, I agree. It takes different folks. Some people get angry. Some people are more logical, reaching out. But what do we do to shake people out of their trance? What do we do to let people know that the new Army training manual, and I'll put it on screen, that Judicial Watch got 2 months ago says George Washington wouldn't be welcome in today's Army. Well, George Washington founded the Army. Go ahead. What do we do?
Well, you've got manuals, and it's just to go to that point really quick. You've got in the military, what is it? West Point. They have Pelliger, who now there's a teaching doctrine where they're actually talking about moderate right-wing conservatives as, you know, the military may have to actually, you know, quell American people, and that's what they're teaching the future leaders of the military. But what needs to happen is the military people who are having these conversations need to start stepping into the public sphere, the political sphere. Like now, the percentage of people who are in government is from the military is about like 15 to 20%, and possibly even less. When, you know, even around Vietnam, after and before, it was over 75%.
Well, that's a great point. We need veterans in the government, not lawyers.
Yes, and the lawyers, you know, I don't want to like declare war on lawyers. You know, we absolutely need them.
Sure, but the government types, sure.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's the people need to understand that the veterans, at least in boot camp, have gone through and eaten dirt, have had to get over their petty differences, race, orientation, whatever it may be that you have wrong with the person that's next to you. You've got to fulfill a mission. You've got something that you have to do, or you're all going to pay the man because of the screw up that you're doing. And it's all about like unity and understanding, getting past your differences. The military folk have to start reaching out to normal citizens and having that logical conversation of, instead of just being, because I remember when I came back, I was, I would be a little short with people that like, you don't get it. And it's like, it was hard to kind of get into the conversation. Like, how do you see this? This is how I see it. This is what I have seen. This is what I've read. This is how history has gone. It's kind of obvious. And then after talking with them and hearing what they have to say, it starts the back and forth, and they start going like, oh, this guy isn't like some pipe-hitting, monkey that runs around with no brain. There's thought there, and you know what? There's a leadership that is in a lot of the military people, so that understanding that these people are trying to do the best, and they're a little angry that a lot of people don't get it. It's military people need to start really stepping up and having the conversation as if you're sitting around a fireside chat. And the truth needs to come out. As uncomfortable as it is, it has to be logically approached.
And we have to also realize that if you turn on any movie or almost any cartoon, it demonizes patriotic militia types. It demonizes libertarians. It demonizes people for 20 years that think a new world order is coming, a corporate global governance. They were preemptively brainwashing folks so that when the real threat came in, we wouldn't recognize it. We've got to get past caring what they say about us, because that is a psyop. And I believe, and I know from the evidence, we are on the march. The public is waking up. That's why they do want to get some type of insurrection going, because we're politically starting to really wake people up. Take how MSNBC pushes racial division all day and says if you don't support Obamacare, that's a total ripoff, you're racist. Again, they're trying to divide and conquer. So the answer is come together around the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the family, private property, the Second Amendment, free speech. I think that's the big solution. What else do you think is a solution?
Well, they're promoting the reluctant anti-hero. You see like in movies and all that kind of stuff, and then they go right back to being a sack of poop. It's kind of like how you live your life. You have to live your life like you want to be remembered. And it's just try to do the right thing at all times. We're all going to mess up. Our side needs to circle the wagons around the people that it feels are worth it, instead of, if you do one thing wrong, you're not us. You're giving us a bad name, and they banish you.
Exactly.
There's a mindset that you have to live by. I'm always going to do the best for the people who believe of what America is. Founding logic. Those people, George Washington, Jefferson, Adams, all those guys, they lived through revolution, war on their lands, and their families were killed. Everything was pillaged. It was more of a civil war than a revolution. It was amongst ourselves for the direction of a country.
And it was a battle of perseverance, too. It was who could go the longest.
Yeah, and it always boils down to, usually two options: good, bad, good, evil, pull the trigger, don't pull the trigger, life, death, eat, starve. You know what I mean? Like, you want to bring it down to what's going on here, not 15 different options.
Sure, free or slave, and we know the direction we're going, slavery. Let me ask you this in the time we have. We're going to give your website out. It's benjaminsmith.us.com, benjaminsmith.us.com. If radio listeners want to go check that out, TV listeners can see it in the time we have. Get into what you were saying on Fox, but any other points you want to make about them trying to obviously make people mad, not letting them into the memorials, using more police than they would have there normally to keep them shut. I mean, that is clearly, what do you think they were wanting to do? What do you think Obama and his controllers were looking for?
Oh, wait a second. This is from that day people have videos, and I know your people will jump all over it trying to research it. There was some people coming over to me and saying there were three cops, at least three, saying that they were being funded. This is Metro Police. I don't know if this is absolute crap, but the thing was, I was listening to the people who just came from listening to them say it. 3 cops actually admitted that IMF was funding them being cops that day because IMF was doing something in D.C. I mean, research it, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. I had my reporters arrested at the G20 for just filming in a park, and it was paid for and run by G20 security for the G20. You're saying the IMF, we've got to look into this, that's big, was actually, well, that's who runs the whole thing. That's who's taking us over is foreign banks.
I figured you'd like chewing on that. I'd love to hear the results and what turns up on that.
Let me shift gears real quick, and I'd love to, anytime you come through Texas, get you in studio or get you on Skype and say any other final points you've got, or if you can stay, that's fine. I heard you had to go. Let me ask you about this. And again, a veteran Navy SEAL joins us, Benjamin Smith, right now. This article, it's been on Fox News, too. Washington Times, family suspects SEAL Team 6 crash was inside job on worst day in Afghanistan. I was told that by a Navy SEAL in SEAL Team 3, not in SEAL Team 6, who had a friend in SEAL Team 6 weeks after the crash, and I'm on record the first person to ever say it. I know that's hard to talk about, but do you have anything to say on that subject?
Not at this time. I mean, you know, how the memorial and stuff went down in Afghanistan with an imam praying over our dead SEALs is my main issue with that. But you know, past that, I'm not going to touch that. Sure.
Any other points you think are important to make about the state of where this country is right now?
Yeah, it lies within ourselves. It's the possibility of our government not being on our side, ideologically stating so. In, you know, if the president says, you judge me by who I put around me. Okay, look at that. Now look at us. Are they what we believe or not? So, you know, you have to have that conversation, start talking to people you don't know or people who disagree with you, and try to have the logical conversation. They will eventually start to see that you're intelligent and you're not a kook. Just do your research and be just in a conversation. Try not to be angry.
I agree. What are you doing in your life right now?
Well, you said I've been over in Iraq and stuff since 06. No, I haven't been over there since 06.
Okay. That was just in the bio right they sent over, yeah.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm doing a lot of public speaking, trying to get the message out. I mean, I believe in what America is, and I've given everything I have to this movement and to what I believe. It's like, you know, it consumes a lot of people.
Hold on, Benjamin. Let's see if you can do 5 more minutes. I want you to be able to finish your point. All right, a few more minutes with Benjamin Smith, veteran Navy SEAL, and then 1 year of contracting until 2006. And now he's very active trying to rally Americans to realize it's not hard. Our Bill of Rights and Constitution is being dismantled. And then the Republican leadership joined with the Democrats to go after Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and others who were pointing out that Obamacare is a total fraud. And then now it doesn't work, and Obama says it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. I mean, you were really saying some powerful stuff during the breaks. So, Benjamin, I mean, tell folks, I mean, you know, lead folks, tell folks what you're trying to do, because I was asking you, what do you think we should do? And you were making some really great points during the break. So finish up with some comments.
Yeah, well, with everything that we've gained our freedom from through the revolution back in the 1700s, it wasn't individual sovereignty. It wasn't the freedom which we all talk about now that got us the freedom that we have and that we're kind of wasting away. It was unity. It was discipline. It was people working together and sacrificing for each other. It was the battlefield of ideas. It was, you know, that unity between you and the person next to you. And the thing is, they started to, as we need to do now, come together in business, we need to start monetizing what we do, because everybody out there on the speaking circuit, or if anybody's standing, they're being attacked by IRS. And in the IRS now, a lot of us are considered. I'm a propagandist, like if
that's
that ain't
right.
Communist rhetoric. But like a lot of working together, doing things, and sacrificing for each other, and giving, and then giving again to each other. That has to start happening, and it turns into a groundswell. I mean, it's not going to be as well said as I said during the break, but to the broader picture, like when we're talking about martial law suspends the Constitution of the United States. What would our government want to do? And I know this goes over to a lot of your people as well. If they suspend the Constitution, martial law happens for 5 minutes, or whatever the NDAA made martial law and posse comitatus. Would that allow, immediately, that would allow UN to come into the United States and whatever entity that doesn't like us? It's an open door. And Sheila Jackson Lee calls for it openly on the House floor, which is absolutely insane.
Well, these people are dangerous, and I agree with you. We're all under attack. I think the number one thing people have to get to their heads that are libertarian, veterans, conservatives, just people that love freedom, people that just love the American system compared to communism and fascism, people who don't want to be slaves. We're in a war. We're under attack, and denying it gives the enemy the total advantage. We have to admit we're under attack, and every man, woman, and child has to pick little goals and complete them. And just resisting this in the info war, resisting it monetarily, resisting it by supporting patriots, resisting it by saying no to tyrants, we will bring them down.
It's a cold civil war is what's going on. There's no violence yet, and it's for the direction of a country. We have to find what we agree upon. Everyone's so used to pointing at something and bitching about it, but they don't know to go to it. You run to the sound of those shots being fired, and you do right. You do good to the end of your being. You do what is right. Find what you agree with somebody on, not emphasize what you don't. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody's fallible. Everybody's got things wrong with them. Find what binds you together, not what separates you.
I agree. I mean, I really, after 18 years on air and 20 years fighting for liberty, and just in the last year, people that have attacked me, done wrong to me, it doesn't matter. I've just forgiven them and ignored it and not spent time, trying to, hurt them or anything, because I realize unity is the key. The globalists are coming down on us. We've got to get together and focus on that issue.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But continuing, I mean, other points, because let me ask you this question. I am striving to get people awake so that the global crime syndicate, the operatives, they can look at things and tell they're not going to win if they launch a false flag and try to blame us, or provocateur something, or bring in Al-Qaeda people they're protecting, whatever happens to try to distract us. But what happens if they do start trying to take guns? What do we do if they do start, not just audit people that are in the Tea Party or audit veterans that speak out and persecute us? What if they start trying to round people up and say we're terrorists? What happens at that point?
Well, this is like one of my other things. Like in conversation, look at the Second Amendment. It says a well-regulated militia, and that doesn't mean controlled by government. That just means well-trained. That means, they could shoot, move, and communicate together. And, in working together with other citizens who believe the same thing, a militia is just the last bastion of what an American has, as per the Bill of Rights. You guys at least get to join together and stand against, or at least, if you draw the line in the sand, you shall go no further, you shall not pass. That right there is that's the last bastion, and you're starting to see all that stuff pop up, and conversation there needs to be had as well. It's not a bad word.
Well, the good news is, and just to quantify it, and then we're going to let you go, because I know you've got a meeting you've got to go to here. What about the numbers? I mean, you were telling me off air that, yeah, even the political speakers there were talking about how they want to cause a crisis and get veterans to do something violent. When you're talking to folks that are currently still in the special warfare community, you were saying that they're being brought in and given the litmus test. We've confirmed this is going on. Will you take the guns? But what about just general folks that are recently out, like yourself, in the last 5, 6, 7 years? My number is over 70% now understand just how much trouble we're in. But it is hard to believe this is really happening. But it's happened everywhere else. Why are we surprised? So what's the number? I mean, is there a huge awakening you're seeing?
I think there's a lot of people waking up. There's a lot of fear, and the fear, either people can wake up or they're gonna do something stupid, kind of like the one that flies off the handle, the knee-jerk reaction. That's what they're looking for, because the free market has basically been destroyed. Look at healthcare. That's the government owning close to 20% of it,
and they're wrecking it.
And it's meant to fail. It's meant to fail. And the thing is, it kills our economy if we just let it, people say, stand on its own merit. That's 20% of our economy, which is operating at a absolute subpar performance with how much debt we have, and our credit levels are going low. It's like, this is not going to work. The people who wrote it said it's not going to work.
It's systematic sabotage. Admit we're under economic attack. We're under attack. This is a globalist war, period.
Yes. Yes. Look at how we got Russia.
Shut down their economy.
Yes.
Exactly.
You think we actually won the Cold War?
Give us your take on that.
Oh, okay. Well, look, the Cold War, you've got a socialist, a self-avowed communist, and all them around him in the White House. If you're playing chess, that's the king, the head of our country, is of the political bend of our adversaries in the Cold War. That, to me, says a lot of things that don't say we won.
That's right. They've captured most of the federal government, but they haven't captured the military. The military's waking up. They're trying to capture the states. I think we just politically call them out and get really aggressive, and I think that is what will basically sap them of any moral authority. They want Cloward and Piven to bankrupt us, to blow out our engine. What do we do then to get it going when they control the economy?
Yeah. And there's a bunch of other stuff. I mean, I got to get running, but talking about the Cloward and Piven, and from Clinton to Obama, that's an interesting jump. We can talk about that some other time.
Sure. Folks can go to benjaminsmith.us.com and find out about your upcoming speaking engagements, or how do folks get you to come out and speak to their group?
Yeah, go there. I've got, and we'll have it up there on how to get in touch and whatever we're doing. All
right, well, great job. And again, you're not going to save the world. I'm not going to save the world. But all of us together recognizing this, taking action, working together, unity around liberty, we're going to win. Amazing interview, Benjamin Smith. Thank you for your courage after all your service to come back in the middle of the republic and its greatest threat in history, and to be standing against the threats and the audits and the authoritarianism of these communists. God bless you, sir. It was great having you on.
Yep. You don't unsign your oath. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you very much. All right, there you go. Tell him thank you, guys, because we're in the middle of a segment here. There goes our guest. We're going to get him back on in the near future via Skype. You can hear him there, I think, in a car, having to go into another meeting. You can hear it dinging in the background when somebody got out of the car. He's there fighting, and I'm fighting, and I'm learning how to fight these people as I go. I always use the truth, but you don't know how to present the truth or what angle to hit at. And I'm just a work in progress, 20 years fighting for basic American principles, basic common law principles, 18 years on air, and I have wrecked so many globalist operations with my listeners, and I'm just one guy. There are so many people out there that are better looking than I am, smarter than I am, tougher than I am, more motivated than I am, with less problems than I have. I probably got too much of a temper a lot of the time, too much energy sometimes, but at least I'm trying as hard as I can. And I'm telling you, you need to stop. Every time I talk to one of these Navy SEALs or some Delta Force person or some FBI guy, they're always they're good guys, so humble they don't even see themselves as leaders. And so they're just humbly trying to do little things here and there. And that's all good, but before this turns into a shooting war, folks, we've got to shake people out of their doldrums. We've got to get them out of their trance and get really, really aggressive. And he's absolutely right. A lot of people hear this information, either get really scared or they want to go out and get aggressive overnight and have some physical fight with some compartmentalized threat fusion center, you know, down the road where the people don't even know what's going on half the time. Or because Army PSYOPs is being used domestically against us, people think, well, I'll just go, you know, after an Army PSYOPs group. Those people are probably our biggest group of listeners because they're sitting in the middle of it. They know they're compartmentalized. They know their mission's unconstitutional. They know that the globalists have captured the White House. They know that we're into this situation. They know that we're in deep trouble. And so they're all sitting around going, what do we do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. If it's printing up bumper stickers for a website you put up that's got just 10 facts about the New World Order and then 10 ways to fight back, and then you stick those up in your area, or you start a little newsletter that's one sheet once a week that you out at 4 a.m. go and stick in everybody's mailbox, that'll do something. Or you go to an Access TV show, or you start calling into talk radio, or you go out and stand on the street with a sign, or you start your own blog radio show online, or do your own YouTube channel, or go to public events and grab the politician by the arm and say, we don't like the New World Order takeover. We know what's going on. We know America's been captured. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, groups like that, they have been caught funding the anti-gun groups, funding the Agenda 21. We've done reports on it. Point that out. That, hey, this is a big deal that we've got some of these big banks and groups. And I'm not even saying everybody that works at those banks are terrorist or evil or bad. I mean, those are the biggest things in the economy. It's the people running them. We have to call out they tried to put Larry Summers in as the head of the Federal Reserve when he engineered the current system we're in. That's literally like trying to have Satan, you know, oversee his trial before God. I mean, it's like having Hitler at the Nuremberg trial as the judge, as the Chief Justice. We have to see that we're being overwhelmed by tyranny right now and recognize it and get past the fear. And they want you to know that they'll try to audit you. They'll want you to know that, oh, you'll be put on a list. You're already on a list. They're already shutting the country down. We have no chance here, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't stand up and get involved now. We have absolutely no future. They want to break us fully. And it is going to take people like Benjamin Smith, who is getting active and getting aggressive and going out and speaking out, and all of you have to be leaders. And I agree with what he's saying. People that are veterans especially, and who aren't cowards, and who understand we're in a military attack here. We are under an economic and now political and then soon physical attack. And that's why I want to like the police. I want them to be honorable, but they're in a command structure more and more that is authoritarian. And authoritarianism is not liberty. Tyranny is not liberty. Oppression is not liberty. The globalists have done all these horrible things worldwide in our name through all these different PSYOP frauds. Now they're going to do it here. And they are not going to stop, folks. They're going to carry out a Soviet-style Sovietization like they did in Eastern Europe. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I mean, I'm up here risking my life, folks, because I'm not going to run to some other country where they're putting the same thing in there. I can't run. And that's why so many times people talk to me, they go, man, you're scaring people, you're helping the enemy. And I don't really think that's true. I really don't think that's true. I mean, if that's true, then I'm really a fool. And I don't think I'm a fool. I think I want to be told there's a robber trying to break in my garage by the neighbor calling me. I don't want the neighbor to go, oh, that was kind of scary, I didn't call you. Let the guy home invade my house. I mean, the person's already trying to break in my house. I want to know. I don't want to hide under the bed and just imagine that it's not going on. So I see people, yeah, they get scared hearing all this. You should be scared of not getting aggressive and active. You should be scared that you're not involved. You should be scared because you're just giving these people free rein. And so don't go off half-cocked and go shoot up a threat fusion center. Don't go off half-cocked and you get pulled over, even if the cop's being arrogant and aggressive and out of control and wants to search you illegally and wrongfully, and shoot them. what you do is you try to talk to them, educate them. They do you wrong. You personally sue them. You petition the courts. You do shows about them. You start filming the police, showing them they're wrong, pushing them that way as far as you can until they try to come arrest leaders of the liberty movement. Then you know, folks. Then you know they're coming. There won't be communications at that time. You'll know. And then it's your job not to just sit in your house and wait for folks to come drag you out of it, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn. So we're doing everything we can as the biggest favor ever to the police and military that are currently serving. And the biggest favor to ourselves and everybody else here to just not do this. Because this is real, folks, okay? Just admit I was right about it all. Just admit all our experts were right. Admit we're in trouble. Okay? Well, we got to get out of this. The solution begins the minute people admit we're in deep trouble. We're going to come back with some final calls here and some other news, but stay with us. You're living history right now, and there is a foreign banking takeover that wants communism for us and their tax-exempt offshore. They are trying to totally destroy the country. There's no doubt now. It's 100%. The sociologists, the anthropologists, the psych warfare people, the collectivists are really eugenicists. They're not even liberals that think communism is going to help people. They're anti-human exterminists. They're on record. And they think we're done. They think they can beat us. That's why they fund the radical Islamic groups. They fund Al-Qaeda on record. It's why they stage a lot of the terror attacks or provocateur the others, so they could radically transform our society and have the military and police trained for open war with the American people and build secret police spy command centers tied into everything to federalize everything, which is really under globalist control. The good news is we learned about this a long time ago because military sources, law enforcement sources had nobody to go to except Soldier of Fortune would write about it 18 years ago, and I would cover it. Alex Jones and things like Soldier of Fortune and people like Mark Kornke, that's about it. And then we were the people, oh, they're the crazies. They say, oh, this is going on. Now it's all confirmed. And I didn't know any of this stuff. I was told by police chiefs and emergency managers and Navy SEALs and retired Delta Force people. Hey, Sonny, you look like you're willing to do this. Go look into this. Because I was just crazy enough to go do it. Some of the stuff, man, where they took our footage a couple times. That would be some of the most amazing footage ever if they hadn't took it. The point is that I think about some of the stuff I've even told people about. The point is that we're not going to be hit flat-footed here. I mean, I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off for 18 years, and so a bunch of other people. It's not like we don't know about this plan. Clinton had the military doing litmus tests, will you fire Americans? And that's why they were freaking out. It was the military is either going to hang us or save us. Because you notice each time they want the military to do the evil stuff, the military says no. So what they're doing is they're just bringing in more and more bad people. I'm going to do a little bit of overdrive to go to David and James and Antonio and Julian and others. There's some big breaking news on Infowars.com. It's really bizarre that the head of Interpol says arm citizens worldwide to prevent terror attacks. I mean, that's just common sense. Boy, this guy's really doesn't fit into the, that article's up on Infowars.com. That doesn't really fit into the establishment idiocy. So, wow. Wouldn't it just be nice to have good leaders again who aren't total criminals? Just so our economy's about building good things and having good culture instead of just corruption and government drug dealing and money laundering and evil and disarmed mega cities with poor, pathetic slaves walking around getting their welfare checks. And Dumbos collapsing at the free healthcare rally with Obama that's not free healthcare. We're going to go to break, come back and jam in a few final calls for folks like David, and who's been holding the next longest, Sam and Antonio. Who knows, I might do 20 minutes of overdrive to get to everybody. But there's a lot of other news that's up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. But the Democrats are now coming out and saying they're proud to not get any health care under the health care failure. That's how they show their solidarity. I told you they do that. France is demanding answers on the high-profile people and politicians being targeted by the NSA. Of course the NSA targets high-profile people. I mean, it's been going on for 50 years, and now they get all our data, and it's totally illegal, and it's not meant to keep us safe. It's meant to keep the criminals in charge. Mexico calls NSA spying on former president unacceptable. Greenwald promises more bombshells. That's up on drudgereport.com. And IRS spent $132 billion on bogus tax credits to all their little buddies and friends, mainly illegal aliens. Just a total gang rape. And then here it is, Homeland spends $80 million on armed guards for civil disturbances in New York alone. They're getting ready for civil disturbances and financial collapse. So, I mean, they should know they're steering us right into the iceberg on purpose. Stay with us. Overdrive at Infowars.com/show. Some stations carry it. Video feeds there as well. Nightly news is big tonight, 7 o'clock. PrisonPlanet.tv. PrisonPlanet.tv.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
We do have a bunch of breaking news. I'll get to that coming up in the next segment. We're in Overdrive. We're live. Thank you for holding. David in California, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hi, Alex. I've been wondering about a possible big solution. I've been wondering if it's possible to make a mailing list to the top, say, 100,000 influential people in the country, fundraise a few hundred thousand, and then mail them your upcoming DVD, The Obama Deception. I've seen this kind of thing work, these campaigns, in other nonprofit organizations. So I was just wondering about that.
No, you're right. I just don't know if I personally have the organizational skills. I could probably partner with the folks that put out Dreams of My Real Father. I know they did something similar. Usually it's like films about being scared of Muslims, but then they don't tell you that the government actually runs the radical Muslims. But I know that's been done a lot. And then I would like to hit the 100,000 influential authoritarian liberals, because not all of them are consciously authoritarians, and hit the so-called conservatives. Because, you know, we're always like hitting conservatives to wake them up. But once a Republican gets in, they'll put up with the very same tyranny. I got to say, though, with Obama, I'm even amazed how bad it is. I mean, I'm surprised he's gotten away with this much. But I guess they've got NSA blackmail is the intel we've got. But that's a great idea.
Well, if you ever need any help running that campaign, I've done these before for other groups. You can have me do it part-time here, remote.
Sure. Give us your name and number, and we'll try to give you Rob Dew's private email and send that. Yes, that's what I need is help, expertise. Because I'm busy trying to cover the news and research that, and then I've got to run everything else. But in fact, I'm not doing a money bomb this year because we've been able to raise enough money with high quality products to be able to pay for the rollout and the expansion and the TV stuff, at least for now. We're doing a little bit better than we were. We've been cash strapped the last year, but we've done some other things, brought in some new products that have helped us out, like the dash cams and the great Nation iodine and the Pro Pure water filters and sponsorship and stuff. But yes, you know, I gave $100,000 to the winner of the films exposing the tyranny, but I don't have the money to do that again. We could probably do a fundraiser. People would give to that to say send 5 copies to every member of Congress, and that would be, you know, I guess how many thousands? That'd be like 3,000 copies or so to send those to Congress. And then maybe send some to all the members of all the state houses, and that does have a big effect. And then say send it. That's a great idea. How much will we need to raise to do that? I think to send out about 100,000 DVDs at cost with all the shipping and everything, I'd probably have to raise, what, $500,000? How would that work?
Well, if you can get those out at wholesale cost, then you can probably do it for $1 or $2 per shipping. And
really?
I've done these on a big scale. I have a lot of experience on this. I'd be more than happy to help you out on it. I've worked with one group that had devastating results. It's very effective. You also want to get it out to police chiefs. You want to get it out to educators. You want to get it out to colleges and universities. You want to get it out maybe possibly even hospitals for the, you know.
Well,
the
how do you do it that
aspect.
Inexpensive? I mean, if I print 20,000 DVDs, they're like 70 cents a piece. I mean, so like the DVD, the packaging, you really think you can mail it out for $2 a piece? Wow, that's awesome. So we could fund that with $150,000 then.
Yeah, I've seen, well, the group I worked with actually purchased their own manufacturing equipment, so they had really low rates on their manufacturing cost. And it was an amazing campaign. I'd be happy to run this all for you.
I tell you what, sir, send us your bio and that you've run these campaigns, and we'll try to work it out and hire you. Absolutely, I've thought about that for a decade and just never had the money or I'm too busy trying to make the film. But yes, that's what I want. Because instead of just putting it on YouTube and 20 million people see it and, you know, maybe 50,000 of our listeners buy a DVD, it pays for the film, which is great, and they make copies, give it to people. We always have the copy thing where people can make copies. That is a great idea. I want to do it. What's your, you want to be public, David? What's your full name?
Oh, sure, go ahead. David Potter.
All right, David, we're going to give us your info, your name and number, and I'll give you the private email during the break, and we'll put you up on the big board to make sure that happens. Infowars.com is down right now. You don't see that too often. We're redesigning the sites right now, so that's making them even better. We'll see what happens with Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Getting into the other news that's out. The New York Times is reporting on what I told you years ago the plan was, because they were public about it on C-SPAN. Security check now starts before you fly. And they're going to use anything like claiming you haven't paid the IRS to not let you fly. There's no judge, there's no jury. They'll just put you on a no-fly list. So this is the total authoritarian enslavement. And the New York Times reports on it like it's fun and safe. And they're going to go through a wide array of government and private databases, mainlining NSA like car registrations and employment information. So there's the mission creep of the new secret police toilet attendant group that is going to rule our lives and run checkpoints. And if you make a joke about it, they're going to arrest you. So that is the word. Just total tyranny. Just bow down, get ready, and they're going to take your pension funds too, and just worship them. Worship them. Continuing here with some of the other news that is coming out. Ted Cruz is being attacked, and the website is being run by Nigerian email scammers. That's right, and still no one is able to sign up for it. People that say they have think they have. So they go, oh, I signed up, I'm getting it, and they're going to go, oh, yes. So Cruz says Nigerian email scammers running the Obamacare website. And, of course, he's comparing it to that. They're not actually doing it. The glitches, he compared it, the glitches, to the Nigerian email scammers, which people still think is real, by the way. I talk about that a lot because that really is what it's like. And, by the way, if you can't even sign up on it, what happens once there's claims? And I got to tell you, Dr. Blaylock, 6 years ago, when Obama was first elected or about to be elected, he was president-elect, he said, you watch, none of it's going to work. It's designed to wreck everything. And my dad is, well, not anymore. He's phasing it out. In fact, he's 95% of it now. He's a healthcare consultant. And he said, no, the way this is written, you cannot take Medicare and Medicaid and not break a law. And they actually come in and tell the big providers, they go, play ball and be our friends and do what we want, and we won't indict you. We won't take over everything right now. Just do what we say. And people are like, whoa. Man, I'm going to retire early. Whoa. And they're like, good, that's what we wanted anyways. Now get out of here. And so, I mean, and they're in there, boy, now they're over your records and over your money and the, yeah. They love it. They love it. And don't complain about it or you're racist. But Obama has now called up Verizon saying that he wants them to fix it. The Spanish website's completely down. Well, I mean, you know, who even needs that? The Spanish site is completely down. In fact, let's click on that and show them that it's down. And continuing here, the world is spending $1 billion per day to tackle global warming that doesn't exist. The world has cooled down. There's a crop of Ted Cruz candidates emerging in 2014. Very exciting. So they're demonizing him right now, including from the Liberty Movement, pointing out that his wife has worked in a division that has been connected to Goldman Sachs, and we know he's a big corporate lawyer. I care about how he votes to defend the Second Amendment, how he barely beat stuff with his vote. I care how he votes to defend our republic and our sovereignty and not legalize 30 million illegals, how he criticizes Obamacare and has filibusters. And the minute Ted Cruz ever deviates off that, then what his wife has done in the past will be of pertinence. But they're now, and I'm not saying it's bad to point out what his wife's doing. We should watch it. But that's why we didn't support him really up front when he was running for Senate. I mean, we supported him over David Dewhurst because he's so horrible, and we know he's bad with Gardasil and TSA groping us and blocking the state law on that. So I supported him but held my nose with a proviso. But I've really been watching Cruz closely, and I like him. I know Rand Paul's good. And look, nobody is going to be perfect. I don't play politics, but they would have gotten their gun control if it wasn't for Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and all of you out there. So I'm just saying, you know, down the road, if I find somebody better than Ted Cruz or Rand Paul, I'll support them over them, even if it was somebody better. Good luck on that. We got Dianne Feinstein to deal with. We got Joe Biden. We got Michael Moore. I mean, I knew this a long time ago, but now I really know it, and I'm sure of it. They are flaming authoritarians. They know they're taking over. They know they're evil. They are gangsters following a psych warfare script. They are pigs. They are mercenaries. They are globalist usurpers. Let's go ahead and go to a phone call. Antonio in Texas, thanks for holding. You're on the air. Thank you.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, brother. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, I was just calling to ask your opinion on something I heard about this comet Ison. I don't know if you heard. This is kind of drumming up a lot of things here, man. I'm like the resident kind of conspiracy theorist, and my brother-in-law called me this past weekend and said, "Have you heard anything about it?" And so I looked into it, and honestly, what I found out about it was there is a lot of propaganda going on. There's a lot of hype. This comet Ison is supposed to create this EMP blast and what have you. But and I just wanted to call to really kind of be grateful for you because I've been listening for so long. You allowed me to really decipher some of the stuff that I was hearing. That, you know, because they have these hour-long things going on of how it really is kind of like 2012 into the world kind of stuff. But I found this guy who is an astrophysicist, James McCanney, who actually, because of you, I was able to decipher that this guy actually has some truth. And what he was saying is, which I found very interesting, is that the comet is doing some crazy stuff in there. It's approaching Mercury, and this upcoming drill that's going to be happening in November is the same day that that this comet is going to be approaching Mercury and going causing the planet to go comet, and after that it plunges into the sun. And I believe what he is saying is that the government possibly could use this as an excuse to, you know, kind of shut things down.
Well, sir, listen, I appreciate your call. Good points. You know, you sound really excited about this stuff, and I would be too, because we know if you look at the moon or you look at Earth from satellite, there's craters everywhere. And we get hit every 100 years or so by giant meteorites or asteroids, comets. But I don't think, look, there's too many amateur astronomers, or too many amateur astronomers. They're watching everything. It's amateur astronomers. I can't even talk now, I'm so tired. Astronomers that are the ones that are finding almost all the comets and asteroids and things now. Not the radio telescopes, none of it. And it is a perennial book you can sell. And I'm not saying who you're even talking about is a bad guy. As I've heard him, I think he's interesting, and he might be right. But, I mean, I have to every year tell someone, no, it's not Planet X. No, it's not the end of the world. No, this comet isn't going to hit us. No, this isn't going to happen. And I just think it's a bunch of hype. Now, there's a comet coming in about a month. They say maybe the biggest ever seen. Ion, I think's the name of it. Ison, and that's certainly interesting. But, and its tail may come across us and may blow out some satellites. Hell, a comet might hit us and blow up like it did in the Yucatan Peninsula and throw up a shroud of dirt that kills the dinosaurs. I don't know. I mean, I'm saying this stuff does happen, but if there's some giant planetoid coming in or a comet or whatever, you're going to see it. And a comet hitting a gas giant when they've hit Jupiter and Saturn and things and have been observable, it doesn't do anything to our weather. It doesn't affect us. But there you go. Sam in Tennessee, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, buddy.
Yes, I'm a sheriff's deputy. I don't want to say exactly what county I work in, but really disturbing this year, we had in-service, which we have to take every year, and the Department of Homeland Security come in to help with our in-service. Basically, we had 4 hours of class with the Department of Homeland Security, and I don't want to sound racist or anything, but there was no Muslim Brotherhood. There was nothing about Mexican cartels. You know, Black Panthers or nothing. It was basically, what they was pointing out was that they was going after basically like the Tea Party people, the Oath Keepers, the Obama birth certificate people and everything.
Yes, sir. That is the official manuals where all they say the number one threat is returning veterans, gun owners, Rand Paul, and then they use the IRS on us illegally when we're just Americans. They are the criminals doing that. So how did that go over in your in-service training by the feds?
Well, I mean, as far as us, all of our guys on the sheriff's department, we was so mad. We was seeing red, and it was all I could do to hold back a lot of questions and everything, because, you know,
No. It's good you don't do anything, because the feds are there assessing you during these meetings. And a lot of the feds aren't bad people, but the ones they send to those are Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL operatives, fifth column. And I know this from the inside. They are marking you in a file if you don't say you love communism, basically. Go ahead.
Yeah, and basically they set up like a gun show and stuff, and they're really after our Second Amendment rights and everything. And they send Homeland Security, ATF agents stuff inside of gun shows, and they try to perpetrate people to act out, you know, to try to get them to talk about the government, to try to, you know, get people in, you know, in hot
Hold on, say that again. Did you say they've got TSA people in the gun shows? Wow.
No, it's more the Department of Homeland Security and everything has a lot of people in gun shows anymore to try to get people talking bad about the government, to try to get them, you know, just to get people on the list and everything. And it's really appalling what they're doing with our Second Amendment rights.
Yeah, what they are is they're secret police going around trying to put people in databases. Good, let's put all them in databases. I mean, let's expose the criminals that have seized our government that are saying that people that want to keep America free are bad. I mean, they've indicted themselves. They are the villains. And they think they're appealed authority because they're the establishment, that then they're allowed to sit there in an army manual and say George Washington is bad. This is disgusting. And no, you're right. Of course there's no Muslim Brotherhood and there's no Al-Qaeda and stuff in there now, because they're now, they run those groups. They now are moving over. The communists that the globalists use to take over have always been allied with the radical Muslims. That is a fact. And folks, we're in the middle of a pincer attack here. They want to play us off against normal Muslims who have nothing to do with this. The really radical ones work for the globalists. But let me shut up and have you make any other points from Tennessee as a sheriff's deputy that folks might want to know what's going on.
Well, let all the listeners know there's a lot of good county police officers out there. There's a lot of good deputies out there that, you know, we took our oath to defend the Constitution of the United States, and that's what I'm going to do. And the day they start having me go against the people of this great nation that we have, or ask us to go and start taking people's guns, the day that I turn my badge in. So,
well, God bless you, sir. The problem is that day may be coming. And look, everybody shouldn't feel bad, though, if it comes to this or whatever we've got to do, because we didn't start this. We're not looking for it. And we're not bad, and I'm sick of hearing we're bad. They're the bad people telling us we're guilty of something when statistically the real Tea Party, the Libertarians, the Constitutionalists, and returning veterans have the lowest crime rate in this country. And they know we're the good guys. They're the bad guys. I mean, it's real simple. They're the bad guys. Everything they do is evil, saying we're bad. I mean, that's pretty cut and dry right there, isn't it? He's gone. Makes me sick. I just, that's why I've psychoanalyzed why I'm always blowing up. Because I'm not happy about this. I'm not out looking for some fight with foreign banks that run giant death squads. I'm not looking for, are you kidding? Man, I was a libertarian, constitutionalist, mainline, you know, right-wing Republican they were trying to ban guns in Texas, most guns, and ban junior shooting sports. And I was only a few years out of high school and, you know, had been involved in stuff like that. And they were trying to get rid of property rights, and I went and got involved. And then I found out about everything else. I mean, we are the ones that are being usurped here. And they are trying to wreck the country on record. I mean, when I heard Dr. Blaylock, who's incredibly smart and been involved in medical management and running a health department at a major university, when I heard a top brain surgeon, he's invented a whole bunch of the most commonly used new procedures in brain surgery. I mean, he's a super brain surgeon. And I remember him 6 years ago going, they will bankrupt it, none of it will work by design, then they'll move to the next phase. That guy has read like hundreds of books about communist history, eugenics history, and everything. We got to get Blaylock back on. And I remember going, come on, they just want to socialize it to control people and have death panels. They're not going to totally wreck everything. And he said, no, they want to blow out our political and financial engine. They've almost already brought, and it all came true. I mean, I don't blame the public for not believing this stuff because I can't believe it. I can't believe it's declassified Army manual bad-mouthing the Founding Fathers and saying, you know, they're preparing for war with the Tea Party. So I don't blame anybody for not believing us, okay? I don't blame you. And let me tell you something. I don't blame you for thinking I'm a liar that vaccines have, quote, adverse effects, because they say on the news they have no side effects when the insert says they can kill you. I don't blame you thinking I'm a liar, because when you find out they're lying to you, you're going to have to rethink everything. Let's go ahead and take a phone call. James in Florida, thanks for holding her on the air.
Hello?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Alex. I'm a younger listener. I'm 19 years old, and I've been listening to your show for about 6 months now, and I've been awake for about a year, and I just wanted to give you a little insight on the younger community that's like growing up in this age of globalism and how we're all being suppressed by like the college and stuff. Everybody in the education system is just pushing down just liberalism in general. And
yeah, authoritarianism, that's because you're their food. See, they've told all the yuppies and people and all the baby boomers, you're going to have to enslave, because there's less of them than there are of the baby boomers, you're going to have to enslave the young people to pay for all your giant pensions and stuff. Of course, the bankers are going to steal all that because they want to politically control people. They've done this in other countries. We know where we are on the program. I mean, it's like we're reading a movie script or something, or a program at a play. We know what's coming up next in Romeo and Juliet. We know what's coming up next. So, yes, sir. And it's the young people bamboozled by the young, trendy, hip black president, when he's not even really black in my view, more like some space alien, you know, yuppie or something. And he's there just ramming this down as the front man, and they're all dancing, feeling trendy and stuff, having no idea they're being shut up. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
I agree with you full-heartedly, but there are people that are starting to see what's going on. Like, it's just obvious now. The propaganda in the textbooks are getting really bad. In my textbook for this government class that I'm taking this semester, it's going over the Bill of Rights, and where it comes to the Second Amendment, it's all just propaganda about school shootings. It doesn't even go over the Second Amendment. It just talks about shootings that have happened with guns. It's quite frankly.
Yeah, what they do is they create the perception of mass shootings increasing, when mass shootings, even adding gang-related, are slightly up the last 10 years, down since 1992, but overall crime with gun is down 49%. So the truth is, overall, people using guns in criminal activity, home invasions, carjackings, every other major crime, carjackings are down over 80% nationwide. Look it up. You know why? Because they know people are packing. You know where they're up? Chicago, New York, D.C. Man, if I lived in D.C., I'd be breaking the law all day. I mean, it's better to be, tried by 9 than, buried by 6. What's the saying? It's, yeah, because 6.
Tried by 10, tried by 8, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's better. I mean, plus I wouldn't live there. Well, God bless you, sir. Good to hear from you, James. Just fight back however you can, my friend. Speak out. We're making Obama Deception 2 to try to expose it to people. and we're show them the first Obama deception. They'll see it and go, wow, this all came true. Tell them about the radio show. But listen, it seems like yesterday I was 15 years old. I'm 40 in a couple of months. I'll be 80 before I know it. You think you're different because you're young. You're going to wake up and be an old man. And all you young people see what anybody who's older is up here saying, and they go, oh, that's some old guy with that gravelly voice. I'm not an old guy. I'm just a human being just like you. I bet I know how to have more fun than you do. Let's go ahead and talk to Julian in Texas. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Alex.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man. How's it going?
Pretty good, my friend. Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I appreciate everything you're doing. I know the extra time you're putting into this, all the time you take to talk to everybody and stuff. But I wanted to point out something. You talk about GMOs, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you are what you eat, basically. HEB is a big supermarket, basically, in Texas. I'm pretty sure you know that, right?
Yes, absolutely. It stands for Howard E. Butts.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if anybody's brought this point up, but I was going to bring the idea of starting a petition to have GMOs labeled in HEBs.
I agree, because we can't get it done at the state level anywhere because of lobby those companies to make it more clear and better. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I live in a small town just 20 minutes away from Brownsville. It's called Harlingen. And all we have is a Walmart and an HEB here, and a Costco is being built. And I'm pretty sure Walmart is filling us crap, you know. Stuff filled with GMOs.
Well, there's no doubt HEB's better than Walmart. God bless you. I got to jump. By the way, my grandmother was asked out by Howard E. Butts, that owns that giant chain at Baylor University, and did not do it. And I'm glad she didn't, or I would not exist. Instead, she decided to go out with the football player from the University of Texas, who was roommating with the Tom Landry. Isn't that weird? Oh, this is a small world, man. Anyways. My grandma also knew LBJ's Hitman. That's another story. You know what? I'm out of time, folks. My grandmother's still alive. She's 90 years old. I need to go over there and see her. She just had her birthday. Kenny and Doug and Anthony, I'm out of time. I've done 3.5 hours. I'm getting a little bit dingy. I shot the 50 cal, hip held, felt great, shot a whole bunch of rounds. Totally threw my back out. I got out of bed this morning, and I've never had it before where my muscles are all tensed up, and I'm like, I've really messed myself up. So the real pain begins getting out of this chair here in a minute. But that's with McAfee. We're going to have some of the interview out tonight, but the shooting will be tomorrow. Maybe even on the radio show / TV, or maybe the nightly news. But that's going to be news making. We got McAfee shooting a 50 handheld.